An immortal cultivator clan cannot become arrogant. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226 Underground Space. King Shin Python is a third-level monster. And what about Hongyu? It is just a second-level low-grade monster. Even if Hongyu is good at flying, its speed is not as fast as the big monster King Shin Python. It is only a matter of time before it catches up. The only way now is to give it a try. Ling Youdao gritted his teeth. Hongyu, fly to the left. Hearing this, Hongyu immediately turned around and flew to the left. I'll try my best. Whether I can save my life depends on God. In this space, the big monster comparable to Jindan's Henrin is the master, who can command the first-level monsters and the second-level monsters. No matter what, Ling Youdao can't defeat King Shin Python. But fortunately, there is more than one big monster in this space. At least on the way to the high mountain in the forest, he felt a breath of a big monster. That breath is completely different from the breath of King Shin Python. It can't be the King Shin Python behind. Ling Youdao's goal is to lure King Shin Python to meet the big monster. Monsters have territories, and the space must have been divided up by big monsters. The area near the Kingdom Sect's spiritual medicine garden should be the territory of the blue sky python, and the territory of the big monster is in this forest. If the blue sky python openly breaks into the big monster's territory, whether it is to kill a chicken to scare the monkey or something else, the big monster will definitely swear to the outside world its strength, and there will definitely be a big battle. The blue sky python and other big monsters are fighting, so naturally they can't care about Ling Youdao. Feeling the breath coming from the forest, Ling Youdao suddenly smiled. Great, the big monster didn't leave. The big monster released his breath to avoid a lot of unnecessary trouble. But Ling Youdao was different. He went in the direction where the breath came from. As they got closer and closer, the breath put more and more pressure on Ling Youdao and Hongyu. Fortunately, the one person and the monster could barely hold on. When Ling Youdao stepped into the big monster's territory, he had already been discovered by the other party. The reason why the big monster didn't take action was that he disdained to pay attention to Ling Youdao. However, the moment the King Shin Python flew close to the territory of the big demon in the distance noticed it. Roar, the big demon roared, and the voice contained anger, as if questioning why the King Shin Python did not follow the rules. Brazenly broke into its territory. The next moment, a big lizard flew into the air. Its body length was nearly 6 feet. Here it comes. Ling Youdao was overjoyed, and still flew towards the big lizard regardless of anything. The big lizard didn't care about Ling Youdao, and flew straight towards the King Shin Python that had crossed the border. The two big demons collided in the sky, and the big lizard roared, full of threatening meaning, trying to drive the King Shin Python away from its territory quickly. King Shin, you have crossed the line. Some powerful big demons can refine the horizontal bone, and then they can speak. The blue sky python circled in the air. Get out of the way, these little guys have killed too many of my men. I must eat them alive. I don't care how you eat them, but you're challenging me by breaking into my territory. Hiss. The big lizard released its aura and pressed towards the blue sky python not far away. It looks like we're going to have a fight today. Hiss. It also roared, releasing its aura to meet the aura of the big lizard. The two big monsters collided in the sky, entangled and bit each other. Ling Youdao hid in the distance, and when he heard the conversation between the two monsters, his heart was shaken violently. After all, it was the first time he heard a conversation between monsters in decades. It is well known that monsters can speak after they transform. But there are also some exceptions. They have already refined the horizontal bones before transforming and can speak like humans. The Zuanshu giant turtle of the Cangli clan is a big monster, but it has not refined the horizontal bones, so it cannot speak freely like normal humans until now. These two monsters are exceptions. They are lucky in the human world. The strength of the blue sky python and the black flame lizard is so strong. I don't know how long they have lived in this space. They have refined the horizontal bone before they transformed. It's incredible. It's also because this space is too peaceful that such powerful monsters can be born. It seems that there are definitely more than these two third-level monsters in this space, otherwise the blue sky python and the black flame lizard would not have been so harmonious before this. There is a saying that there is no room for two tigers in one mountain. If there were only the blue sky python and the black flame lizard in this space, the two would definitely fight to the death, and both wanted to kill each other and unify the entire space. However, the fact is that if Ling Youdao hadn't led the blue sky python to the territory of the black flame lizard, the two would not have fought at all, but would have lived in peace. Why do the two monsters restrain each other? It is precisely because there are other third-level monsters in this space. The blue sky python and the black flame lizard don't want to take advantage of other monsters, so they have never fought. This is a place of trouble. I have to leave quickly. Ling Youdao immediately flew back on his sword. Although the blue sky python came to chase him, he could not guarantee that Mu Yanran and Ling Dingshan would not encounter any danger on the way. After all, there were many monsters here, and if they were not careful, they might get into trouble. Therefore, he had to find the two and ensure their safety. But the moment Ling Youdao appeared, he was seen by the blue sky python. Roar! The blue sky python roared and flew towards Ling Youdao. Seeing this, Ling Youdao was instantly scared to death. Hiss! Blue sky, what do you think this place is? You can come and go as you please. You don't take me seriously? How could the black flame lizard let go of the blue sky python easily? Otherwise, how could he hold his head up in the future? The big monster already had the intelligence of an 11 or 12-year-old, and the blue sky python and the black flame lizard were both big monsters that had lived for a long time, and their intelligence was comparable to that of a 16 or 17-year-old person. Seeing that the blue sky python was being held back by the black flame lizard, Ling Youdao immediately breathed a sigh of relief and flew back quickly. Now that we have angered the big demon blue sky python, it is difficult for us to stay here any longer. After we find Yanran and second uncle, we will return along the way and leave this space. It is too dangerous here. The Cangli Ling family has already lost a foundation-building cultivator. Ling Youdao does not want to bury all the foundation-building cultivators of the family here. However, the blue sky python would not let him go easily. While dealing with the black flame lizard, it approached Ling Youdao, trying to drag him into the range of the battle between itself and the black flame lizard, so that Ling Youdao would be affected by the battle. Damn it! This old monster still refuses to let me go. Ling Youdao did not dare to look for Mu Yanran and Ling Dingshan, otherwise he would bring danger to them. By the way, let's go to the mountain. There are the ruins of the Jindan sect there, and there are various broken restrictions scattered in the air. It is the easiest to hide. Ling Youdao flew to the mountain with his sword, but the blue sky python and the black flame lizard who were fighting also followed. The Qingdian python's tail was waving wildly, and Ling Youdao happened to be in the range of the battle between the two great monsters. Ling Youdao was hit by the Qingdian python's tail and smashed to the top of the mountain. He passed through a layer of light shield and fell down quickly. Chapter 227, The Spiritual Vein in the Mountain. There was a whirring sound in his ears. Ling Youdao forced himself to stabilize his body and hovered in the air again. He looked up and saw a layer of light curtain above. I didn't expect that there was such a space in the belly of this mountain. If I hadn't been blown away by the Qingshan python and accidentally fell in, I would never have found this space. Although the Qingshan python was restrained by the Zuanian lizard, it still wanted to kill me. If I go out now, I will definitely face the pursuit of the Qingshan python. When he said this, Ling Youdao looked down again. The exit of this space is covered by the formation. It has been more than 10,000 years, but it can still operate. This place is definitely unusual, otherwise the Jindan sect would not hide it so deliberately. I'll hide here first, and when the Qingshan python can't find me, I'll go out. This way it will be much safer. Immediately, he pondered and said, it's boring to stay here like this. It's rare to come in once, why not explore this place? As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Youdao controlled the yin-yang Zhuangguang sword to quickly descend vertically. The sound of wind whistled in his ears. In just over 30 breaths, he had reached the bottom. At this time, a sound of rushing water came, and Ling Youdao was slightly surprised. I didn't expect there was a sound of water in the belly of this mountain. The space in the belly of the mountain was a karst cave, and Ling Youdao was in a cenote, of course, a very deep cenote. He looked around, identified the direction of the karst cave, held the yin-yang Zhuangguang sword, and walked over step by step. He knew nothing about this place and didn't know if there was any danger. Therefore, he was highly focused to prevent danger. Soon, Ling Youdao walked into the karst cave. Night light beads. Then he saw that every certain distance, a large night light bead was inlaid on the top of the karst cave. It was these night light beads that illuminated the entire karst cave as if it were daytime. Whether it was the top of the cave or the ground, there were long and large stalactites. There was a relatively flat path between the stalactites, which went all the way to the depths of the karst cave. This path was originally very flat, but as more than 10,000 years passed, stalactites grew on the ground, so it looked uneven. Along this bumpy road, the sound of water in his ears became louder and louder. "There must be a dark river nearby," Ling Youdao said, and immediately sped up. After a while, he finally arrived at a wide underground hall. There was a circle of streams around the hall, and water kept flowing from the top of the cave. The sound of gurgling water resounded throughout the space and continued to echo. There was a layer of light curtain in front of him, and behind the light curtain seemed to be a space. Seeing this scene, Ling Youdao was very curious. Strange, the spiritual energy in this space is so rich. When he just fell into the Cheyenne King, he had already noticed that the spiritual energy here was richer than outside, but this did not attract his attention, because it was not much richer than the spiritual energy outside. But this time it was different. The spiritual energy in the hall was very rich, which shocked him slightly. Could it be, this is where the spiritual vein of Jindan sect is located? Ling Youdao was stunned there. He seemed calm on the surface, but in fact, his heart was already in turmoil. It is very likely. When he thought of this, he was excited and quickly approached the light curtain. He looked down and saw that the water flowing in the stream was also unusual. It contained a lot of spiritual energy, which could be regarded as spiritual water. He bent down, scooped up a bowl of water with both hands and drank it into his mouth. After reciting it, a spiritual energy immediately swept through his body, which was really indescribably comfortable. He stood up and looked at the light curtain in front of him. Behind this light curtain should be the spiritual vein of Jindan sect. The spiritual energy inside escaped and mixed with the water in the stream. After a long time, there was water with such rich spiritual energy. "Wait until I break the formation and go in to explore and you will know." As he said, Ling Youdao held the yin-yang Zhuangguan sword with both hands, and the sword body was wrapped in a ball of red light. Break. After a little accumulation of strength, he slashed at the light curtain in front of him. The light curtain flickered and looked shaky. It worked. Ling Youdao was overjoyed. What he was worried about was that this layer of light curtain was too powerful and it would be difficult to break it with his own strength. But from the current situation, this layer of light curtain was much weaker than the one at the entrance of the Cheyenne Ken. Although he could not break it with one strike, as long as he tried a few more times, this layer of light curtain would definitely be broken. Ling Youdao held the yin-yang Zhuangguan sword in his hand, and the sword body was wrapped in red light. Clang, 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 clang. He kept swinging the sword in his hand to chop at the light curtain, and the light curtain became dimmer and flickered. With a bang, the light curtain blocking him finally collapsed and disappeared. When the light curtain collapsed, the spiritual energy inside instantly surged out, and a gust of wind immediately blew in the hall. Ling Youdao's robe was blown by the sudden spiritual wind. He couldn't help but close his eyes, but he said, "It's worthy of being a cultivation force in the ancient times." After a dozen breaths, the spiritual wind stopped, and the whole hall was filled with spiritual energy that was several times more dense. At the same time, this rich spiritual energy also affected the entire Cheyenne King, making the spiritual energy there even richer. Ling Youdao walked into the space behind the light curtain and saw a large pond behind the light curtain. The diameter of the pond reached a battle. The pond was lingering with dense spiritual energy like fog, like a large pillar shining with spiritual light. This is the spiritual eye of the Jindan sect's spiritual vein. Ling Youdao was shocked. The spiritual energy emitted by this spiritual eye is more than the sum of several medium-sized spiritual veins. Could it be a large spiritual vein? Hiss, he sighed, what a pity. For more than 10,000 years, the spiritual energy of this large spiritual vein has been constantly lost and cannot be replenished. Now it has fallen below the status of a large spiritual vein. Only these 5 medium-sized spiritual veins are left: micro-spiritual veins, small spiritual veins, medium spiritual veins, large spiritual veins, and giant spiritual veins have a multiplier of 10 as long as 10 spiritual veins of the same level are gathered together. And then through special methods, they can be combined into one and become a spiritual vein of a higher grade. This spiritual vein of the Jindan sect was originally a large spiritual vein, but after more than 10,000 years of dissipation, it has already fallen to a medium-sized spiritual vein. Then Ling Youdao jumped into the spiritual eye and dived down to explore for a while. After dozens of breaths, he showed his head and looked at the shining stone in his hand. Ling Youdao laughed and said, I didn't expect that this large spiritual vein that fell from its status not only gave birth to micro-spirit gathering stones and small spirit gathering stones, but also gave birth to a medium-sized spirit gathering stone. It's worth the trip, it's worth the trip. I'll dive down and look carefully, maybe I can find a medium-sized spirit gathering stone. Thinking of this, he immediately collected the few spirit gathering stones in his hand and dived into the depths of the spiritual eye again. He groped at the bottom of the spiritual eye for a while, and suddenly saw a vague human figure in front of him. Chapter 228 The Changes in Chen's Heart, the interior of the green jade bottle. Someone? How could there be someone in this place? Ling Youdao was frightened. He swung his legs and arms vigorously and rushed directly to the surface of the water. Then he jumped onto the shore. Huh? He took a few long breaths and regained his composure. There must be someone at the bottom of the spirit eye. I can't be wrong. How could there be someone in this place? Immediately, he slapped his forehead. Oh, I was chased too hard by the King python. When did I become a frightened bird? I don't even know whether that person is dead or alive, but before I came here, the formation here was intact, and it didn't look like anyone had come in. Hiss. In other words, the person at the bottom of the spirit eye is most likely a cultivator from the ancient times. Thinking of this, Ling Youdao was shocked and slightly relieved. The ancient times are at least 10,000 years away from now. Even a cultivator as powerful as a spirit transformation cultivator cannot live that long. In other words, the person at the bottom of the spirit eye is dead. How can I be a frightened bird? A mere dead man, why should I be afraid? Ling Youdao gathered his courage, then jumped into the spirit eye and dived to the bottom. Although he had guessed that the man was dead, when he saw the figure, Ling Youdao still felt a palpitation. After half an incense stick, Ling Youdao finally dived to the side of the figure. At this time, he finally saw the man's appearance and movements clearly. He saw a white-haired old man with a fury-like appearance, wearing a purple robe with an alchemy furnace embroidered on it. The old man sat cross-legged at the bottom of the spirit eye, holding a green jade bottle in his hands and placing it on his legs. Sure enough, he's dead. Ling Youdao breathed a sigh of relief. The white-haired old man had indeed been dead for who knows how many years. The reason why he could still maintain his appearance before he died was because he was hiding in the spirit eye. He looked at the old man's 10 fingers, then at the old man's wrist, and finally at the old man's waist, and then his face suddenly fell. What's going on? No storage bracelet. No storage ring? But a storage bag would be good too, since you have time to hide here. Don't you have time to bring the heritage of Jindan sect here? Ling Youdao was instantly mad. This old man was not simple at first glance. He had thought of making a fortune from him, but it was all in vain. With such ups and downs, he was naturally in a bad mood. Suddenly, he noticed the jade pendant on the waist of the white-haired old man. He immediately reached out and pulled off the jade pendant. Forget it, if there is no storage bag, a jade pendant for calming the mind is also good. No, this is not an ordinary jade pendant. Ling Youdao was stunned for a moment before reacting. He kept rubbing the jade pendant in his hand. This is a jade slip. Ling Youdao was surprised. I didn't see it at first glance. It really has some tricks. It is worthy of being a thing of a cultivator in the ancient times. I don't know what is recorded in this jade slip. Let me take a look first. As he said, Ling Youdao immediately put the jade slip on his forehead, and his consciousness flowed to the jade slip in his hand. Bang! Suddenly, his head tilted back and he almost fell to the ground. Damn it, more than 10,000 years have passed. And I still haven't been able to completely eliminate the restrictions on the jade slip. Ling Youdao looked at the jade slip in his hand, feeling like he had a treasure mountain but couldn't get it. I can break the restrictions on the jade slip, but it will take some time. It seems that I can't rush it. Thinking of this, Ling Youdao reluctantly put the jade slip into the storage bag on his waist. He looked at the white-haired old man again, his eyes attracted by the green jade bottle in his arms. The jade pendant on this person's waist is an extraordinary thing, so what kind of treasure is the jade bottle in his hand? As he said, Ling Youdao stretched out his hand and picked up the jade bottle in the white-haired old man's hand. The moment he held the green jade bottle, a silver light suddenly lit up on his wrist. Ling Youdao was horrified and immediately threw the green jade bottle in his hand away. But the result was that no matter how hard he tried, the jade bottle could not be thrown away. as if it had merged with him and grown on his palm. Looking at the jade bottle in his hand, he suddenly wanted to cry but had no tears. "I told you to be naughty, now you're done." The silver light on his wrist became brighter and brighter, and then he saw the silver light flowing along his hand to the green jade bottle in his hand. As the silver light was injected, the jade bottle in his hand also flashed green light. This green jade bottle is definitely a treasure." After a few breaths, the silver light on his wrist suddenly flashed strongly. Ling Youdao looked at his wrist and was immediately shocked. "What's going on? Where is my heart of Chen?" The heart of Chen was originally hidden in his wrist, as if it had merged with his flesh and blood and became a mark of him. But at this moment, the mark of the heart of Chen on his wrist disappeared, and the place where the mark of the heart of Chen was originally located returned to its original skin color. It was as if the heart of Chen had never appeared, and everything was just a dream. But Ling Youdao knew very well that it was definitely not a dream. However, the next moment after the mark of the heart of Chen disappeared, the jade bottle in Ling Youdao's hand suddenly glowed green, filling the entire spiritual eye. Ling Youdao was surrounded by green light, and the world was spinning around. Ling Youdao rubbed his head. "What's going on?" He slowly opened his eyes, and suddenly his eyes widened, and his mouth became an O shape. What's going on? Where am I?" Then Ling Youdao was seen in a space, and the space was shining with a faint silver light. At a glance, the space was surrounded by a thin film, and there were restrictions flowing on it. There was a field with a diameter of 36 meters in the space. There were some things growing sparsely in the field, but they were like leaves hit by frost, without any vitality. In the center of this field, there was a bamboo house, and Ling Youdao was standing in the small courtyard in front of the bamboo house. "What is this place?" Ling Youdao couldn't believe what he saw. "Where's my Chen heart?" He looked around and finally saw his Chen heart. "Heart of Chen, how come it is there?" Then the heart of Chen was seen floating in the sky in the center of this space, emitting silver-white light constantly, and this silver-white light filled the entire space. The silver light even penetrated the forbidden light curtain that enveloped this space, and shot into the endless dark world, and it was unknown where it shone. "The heart of Chen is here. Could it be that it brought me in?" The more Ling Youdao thought about it, the more he felt that it was. The origin of the heart of Chen was mysterious. He had never figured out the heart of Chen and could only use it passively. The current situation was really weird and beyond his understanding. He could only blame the heart of Chen. Could it be that this space is inside the green jade bottle? And I am inside the green jade bottle at this moment? A bold guess emerged in Ling Youdao's mind. Chapter 229, The Secret of the Green Jade Bottle. Ling Youdao couldn't help but become curious about this place. He looked around and focused his attention on the bamboo house behind him. The door of the bamboo house was closed, and he couldn't see what was inside. "Go in and take a look." As he said that, he walked to the door of the bamboo house and gently pulled it out with his hand. The bamboo house was not restricted, so it was easily opened. Ling Youdao walked in and saw that the furnishings in the bamboo house were very simple, with only a bamboo bed and an old futon, and then only a few piles of powder. Over 10,000 years, many things have turned into powder, and those that can be preserved until now are definitely good things. Looking at the bamboo house and the bamboo bed, Ling Youdao racked his brains and finally remembered what it was. This is Cangli bamboo. Cangli bamboo is a second-level low-grade spiritual plant. Its texture is hard and it can withstand wind and rain, but it can remain uncorrupted for many years. Of course, even if the green jade bamboo can last for many years, it is impossible to last for more than 10,000 years. The reason why this bamboo house and bamboo bed are still there today after more than 10,000 years is because they are protected by the space, that is, by the green jade bottle. If it were just a second-level low-grade spiritual plant, it would not attract Ling Youdao's attention, but the large number of green jade bamboos naturally shocked him. After leaving the bamboo house, he just noticed the words on the plaque of the gate. Cangli. This name matches this house very well. Ling Youdao's eyes swept to the surrounding fields. Could it be that these are all spiritual fields? Thinking of this, he was a little excited. If his guess was correct, this place was the inside of the green jade bottle, and these were all spiritual fields, then it was equivalent to him carrying hundreds of acres of spiritual fields with him, and they were spiritual fields that belonged to him alone. Ling Youdao walked out of the yard, came to the edge of the field, and stretched out his hand and placed it on the soil in the field. Feeling the faint spiritual energy emanating from the soil, he was immediately delighted. Sure enough, These fields are spiritual fields. He immediately stood up and groaned. It's just that the spiritual energy in these spiritual fields has been lost seriously. Although they are all spiritual fields, they are only the worst quality spiritual fields. After more than 10,000 years, there is still spiritual energy in the soil, which shows that these spiritual fields were definitely of very high quality back then. Could this be the third level low-grade spiritual medicine Yuluwahua? He saw 3 spiritual medicines growing in the spiritual field a foot away, and there was a small red flower on the top of one of the spiritual medicines. Third level spiritual medicines have a great demand for spiritual energy, but the spiritual energy in this spiritual field is limited, and it is impossible for Yuluwahua to get enough spiritual energy. The 3 Yuluwahua plants were thin as a whole, like eggplants hit by frost. Ling Youdao immediately took out several low-grade spiritual stones from the storage bag on his waist, then bent down and buried these low-grade spiritual stones at the roots of the 3 Yuluwahua plants. After the spirit stone was buried in this oil for a while, you can see the rhythmic spiritual energy flowing up along the roots of the 3 Yuluo flowers. Half an incense stick later, the 3 Yuluo flowers were rejuvenated, and the spiritual light flowed on them. All third-level spiritual medicines are precious things, which can be used to refine high-level elixirs. Ling Youdao is an alchemist. Seeing the third-level spiritual medicine suffer such a bad fate, he was naturally very distressed, so he took out the spirit stone to nourish the Yuluo flowers. That's great. How can such spiritual medicines be wasted like this? Then, Ling Youdao saw 2 frost gold grasses and a green cloud fruit tree. Of course, there are not only spiritual medicines growing in the spiritual field, but also some weeds. Weeds have almost no requirements for spiritual energy, but when they grow in an environment with spiritual energy, they grow very well. Frost gold grass is a third-level medium-grade spiritual medicine, and it is one of the 2 main medicines for refining the third-level medium-grade jade gold pill for healing. As for the last giant fruit tree, it was of a higher grade, reaching the 3rd grade upper grade. The giant fruit it produced was the main ingredient for refining giant pill. The 2 spiritual medicines were like the radish, both of which looked like they were hit by frost. Ling Youdao took out the spiritual stones and buried them at the roots of the 2 spiritual medicines. The 2 spiritual medicines soon regained vitality. Alice, burying the spiritual stones can only help for a while. The growth of spiritual medicines is inseparable from spiritual energy, and the higher the grade of spiritual medicines, the greater the demand for spiritual energy. The spiritual energy in the spiritual stones is limited, so naturally it can only help for a while. These are all precious 3rd grade spiritual medicines, and they must not be lost. It seems that we have to think of other ways. His heart was attracted by the 3rd grade spiritual medicines in the spiritual field, and he actually forgot that he was now in a space. If he couldn't find a way out, he would have to stay here for the rest of his life. By the way, outside is the spiritual eye of the Kingdom sect's spiritual vein. Although it has fallen to a medium-sized spiritual vein, it still contains a lot of spiritual energy. I can use the spiritual water to irrigate the spiritual fields here. If you want to fill the spiritual fields in the main space with spiritual energy, you must need a lot of spiritual stones. And so many spiritual stones are definitely not something Ling Youdao can have now. He can only set his sights on the spiritual veins of the Kingdom sect, but how can I get out? When he thought of this, Ling Youdao realized how dangerous the current situation was. He had no idea how he got into this space, and he had no idea how to get out. The heart of Chen brought me in, so the only way out is the heart of Chen. Thinking of this, Ling Youdao looked at the heart of Chen above his head. How can I get out? He asked himself. Heart of Chen, you brought me in. However, the heart of Chen did not respond. Seeing this, Ling Youdao continued to ask, since you brought me in, can you let me out? He had a reason to ask this. Before this, he could only use this command to control the heart of Chen. Now, the only way for him to get out was to continue to command the heart of Chen. Seeing that the heart of Chen still did not let him out, he was worried that he would have to stay in this space for the rest of his life. He panicked and shouted loudly, "Let me out!" As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Youdao felt dizzy again. When he opened his eyes again, he returned to the bottom of the spiritual eye of the Kingdom sect. Looking at everything around him, Ling Youdao was overjoyed. It's out, I'm really out. Ling Youdao picked up the green jade bottle again and kept playing with it in his hands. What a treasure, what a treasure. After a while, Ling Youdao thought, now that I'm out, how can I get in? After thinking about it, he really had only one way, so he said, let me in. Sure enough, after a while of spinning, he entered the inner space of the green jade bottle. Get out! After another round of spinning, he left the inner space of the green jade bottle and returned to the bottom of the kinged insect's spiritual vein. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230, The Green Jade Bottle Absorbs Spiritual Energy. Ling Youdao looked at the green jade bottle in his hand and suddenly had an idea. What if I let the heart of Chen absorb the spiritual energy here? This was not a groundless fantasy, but a fact-based one. After all, the heart of Chen brought him into the inner space of the jade bottle, and he did nothing in the whole process, which was completely passive. Since the heart of Chen can send people into that space, why can't it absorb the spiritual energy into that space? The more Ling Youdao thought about it, the more he felt that he was a genius. So he immediately ordered, "Heart of Chen, absorb the spiritual energy." After a few breaths, the heart of Chen did not respond, and everything around was still normal. Ling Youdao didn't think his guess was wrong, and he was confused. No, is it my order that was wrong? It's very likely that my order just now was too ambiguous, and the heart of Chen couldn't make a good judgment. After all, an artifact is an artifact and can't be compared with a person. Thinking of this, Ling Youdao reorganized his words in his mind. Heart of the River of the Moon, absorb the spiritual energy in the spirit eye into the inner space of the jade bottle in my hand. Perhaps this previous order was really ambiguous, so the heart of the River of the Moon did not respond. But this time the order was very clear and specific. The moment he finished speaking, the cyan jade bottle in his hand released a brilliant cyan light, instantly illuminating the entire spirit eye. Then the released cyan light slowly converged and concentrated on the cyan jade bottle in his hand. Immediately afterwards, Ling Youdao could feel the liquid flowing, and every inch of his skin felt touched. It really works. He looked at the cyan jade bottle in his hand in disbelief, with indescribable shock and excitement in his heart. Containing such a large space, and there are living things, what level of treasure is this? Magical weapon? Absolutely impossible. How could a mere magic weapon have such power? Could it be a spiritual treasure? Ling Youdao looked at the cyan jade bottle in his hand and thought to himself. If it is a magic weapon, he has indeed seen a magic weapon. But when it comes to spiritual treasures, he has never seen one. Not only him, but also the entire Cangli Clan, even the Tianyuan Islands, and even the Meteorite Sea, probably no one has ever seen a real spiritual treasure. In the entire Bihazioxan world, the human race in the eastern part of the world only has 5 major sects that have spiritual treasures, and the Red Sun sect and the Xuanayu sect each have only half a spiritual treasure. Only when the spiritual treasures of the 2 sects are combined into one can it be considered a real spiritual treasure. In other words, the human race in the eastern part of the Bihe only has 4 spiritual treasures. You should know that these 5 forces have existed in the ancient times and have been passed down for more than 10,000 years, but each of them has only 1 spiritual treasure. From this, we can see how precious and rare spiritual treasures are. The fact is that the jade bottle in Ling Youdao's hand is indeed a spiritual treasure, called the green jade glazed bottle, which was accidentally obtained by the founder of the Jindan sect from the ruins of the Bright Moon sect, one of the 8 major forces in the Middle Ages. Along with the spiritual treasure, there is also part of the Bright Moon sect's inheritance. It was because the founder of the Jindan sect obtained part of the Bright Moon sect's inheritance that he was able to create the Jindan sect. In the ancient times of Bihe, Zhenhe Palace was extremely powerful. If they knew that the small Jindan sect had a spiritual treasure, they would definitely try to snatch it. Facing such a behemoth as Zhenhe Palace, Jindan sect had no power to fight back. But how could the founder of Jindan sect be willing to give the green jade glass bottle that he had obtained at the cost of his life to Zhenhe Palace? He kept it in his own hands. Because of the space in the green jade glass bottle, the founder of Jindan sect turned the green jade glass bottle into an important place for the production of spiritual medicines for Jindan sect. During the heyday of Jindan sect, many high-level spiritual medicines were planted in the sect, and more than 1 4th-level alchemist was born. Even Zhenhe Palace treated it with courtesy, but it declined later. The green jade glass bottle is the biggest secret of Jindan sect, and only the head of the sect can know it. And the white-haired old monk sitting cross-legged next to Ling Youdao is the last head of Jindan sect. The demon tribe attacks suddenly, and Jindan sect was not prepared at all. In a hurry, this person ordered his disciples to take the Black Moon Jade Plate and part of the inheritance of Jindan sect and use the teleportation talisman to escape. At the same time, he ordered the opening of the formation. After the formation was opened, the island where Jindan sect was stationed sank to the bottom of the sea, isolating the surrounding space. The Black Moon Jade Plate is the key to the Jindan sect formation. This person wanted to wait for the demon tribe to retreat, and then his disciples would return to restart Jindan sect, but things did not go as he wished. The demon tribe did not retreat, but occupied this place, and occupied it for 10,000 years. And his escaped disciples did not know what they had experienced, and did not return here to restart Jindan sect. The Black Moon Jade Plate passed through countless hands and finally fell into the hands of Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao. I don't know how the two knew that it was the Black Moon Jade Plate, and the Black Moon Jade Plate could open the ruins of Jindan sect. Before this person opened the formation, many demon beasts had already killed in, and they sank to the bottom of the sea with the island. Then the monks of Jindan sect started a fierce fight with the monsters, but there were too many monsters that sank to the bottom of the sea along with the island, including many big monsters. The monks of Jindan sect were outnumbered and eventually defeated, and were slaughtered by monsters. In desperation, this person brought the green jade glass bottle to the place where the spiritual eye of the Jindan sect's spiritual vein was located, and then sank into the spiritual eye. The reason why he did this was to protect the green jade glass bottle. First, he didn't want this spiritual treasure to fall into the hands of the monster clan. Second, the island sank to the bottom of the sea, cutting off communication with the outside world, and the spiritual energy could only circulate internally. Moreover, the large formation covering this space needs to absorb spiritual energy continuously to cope with the pressure of seawater. The spiritual power is constantly consumed and cannot be replenished. One day, the spiritual energy in it will be exhausted. Then the large formation was crushed by the seawater, and this space disappeared completely. Although the spiritual treasure is powerful, if there is no spiritual energy to nourish it, its spirituality will inevitably weaken slowly, and over time, it will inevitably fall in rank. Of course, this time is measured in thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. This person didn't want such a great spiritual treasure to be covered in dust, so he put it in his spiritual eye. This place is the source of the spiritual energy in this space, and it will be the last place where the spiritual energy in this space is exhausted. It is the best choice to put the green jade glass bottle here. As for his storage bag, it had been lost in the war. At that time, the situation was critical and there was no time to find it. Although the monster destroyed the Jindan sect, it was also trapped in this space. Years passed, and tens of thousands of years passed. During this period, the monster experienced a civil strife. As for the things in the outside world, no monster knew about it, and only regarded this space as the whole world. Chapter 231. The monster still defines the human cultivators who broke in as monsters. After the shock and excitement, Ling Youdao, who had regained his composure, felt a little worried. It turned out to be a spiritual treasure. I don't know whether it is a blessing or a curse. The stronger the strength, the higher the level of treasures that can be possessed and guarded. On the contrary, if one does not have strong strength but insists on occupying high-level treasures, it is a very dangerous thing. With the strength of my Cangli Ling family, how can we possibly guard a spiritual treasure? This thing must not be leaked out. Otherwise the Cangli Ling family will be in great danger of extinction. Looking at the cyan jade bottle in his hand, he had already made a decision in his heart. The cyan jade bottle was still constantly absorbing the spiritual energy from the spiritual eye of the Jindan sect's spiritual vein, and a vortex was formed in the spiritual eye with the cyan jade bottle in Ling Youdao's hand as the center. Looking at this posture, it will take some time to absorb the spiritual energy. Ling Youdao simply put the jade bottle in his hand on the ground, and then he also sat cross-legged on the ground and took out the jade pendant that he had taken from the waist of the white-haired old man not long ago from the storage bag. He took the jade pendant in his hand and played with it. I don't know what is recorded in this jade slip. Ling Youdao thought that the white-haired old man's storage bag was lost, but the jade pendant was still there, and it must have recorded something very important. I will take advantage of this time to break the restrictions above. As he said, he embraced Yuan Shaoai, and the jade pendant floated in front of him, emitting a faint green light. Then, Ling Youdao pinched his hands together, and the spiritual light flashed, and the spiritual light went to the jade pendant. At the same time, his consciousness also rushed to the jade pendant. At this time, At the bottom of the spiritual vein of Kingdom sect, the green jade bottle continued to absorb the spiritual energy of the spiritual vein, while Ling Youdao sat cross-legged on one side, with a green jade pendant floating on his chest, and he was breaking the restrictions above. What happened here? People outside had no idea. Outside the underground spiritual vein space of Kingdom sect, Kingshan Python and Zuanian Lizard were still fighting in the sky. All creatures within the range of the aftermath of the battle between the two suffered a tragic disaster. Trees were overturned and rocks collapsed. Under the pressure of the black flame lizard, the blue sky python finally approached the top of the mountain, but saw a layer of light curtain on the top of the mountain, sealing the entrance of the Cheyenne Ken. Where is that little thing? Where did it go? I want to eat him, roar. Ling Youdao suddenly disappeared. The blue sky python felt that he had been fooled and was indescribably angry. It never thought that Ling Youdao fell into the Cheyenne Ken, because for thousands of years, countless monsters tried to break in, but they all ended up with nothing. This seemingly insignificant light curtain could not be broken even by the combined power of all the great monsters in this space. And what was Ling Youdao's cultivation level? It was just the initial stage of foundation building. In the eyes of the blue sky python, it was just a second level lower grade. How could he enter a place where even the great monsters could not enter? But the blue sky python didn't know that this layer of light curtain blocked the monsters, and the people of the human race could enter without any obstacles. This is understandable. After all, these monsters have been thriving in this space for 10,000 years. They have been isolated from the world for 10,000 years, and humans only exist in legends. The monsters still define the human cultivators who broke in as monsters. There are not only two big monsters fighting, but also the first and second level monsters in their territories. The first and second level monsters in the two big monsters' territories are two camps. When the leaders are fighting, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals under them naturally fight together. After Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran got rid of the pursuit of the powerful star ape and other monsters, they gathered together again. Second uncle, where's brother Youdao? Ling Dingshan shook his head and said, I was chased by monsters all the way and didn't see my third nephew. Now that the two big monsters are fighting, the low-level monsters under their command are fighting together. Brother Youdao must be in danger outside. The two are currently hiding in a hall in the ruins of Kingdom Gate. Where are you going? Ling Dingshan saw Mu Yanran was about to leave, and immediately stepped forward to stop her. Brother Youdao is in danger. I want to go find him. No, Uncle sacrificed himself to create a chance for us to escape. If you go out like this, Uncle will die in vain. Although Ling Dingshan is impulsive at times, he is not a person who does not consider the overall situation. Besides, my third nephew has a lot of tricks. How could you be so stupid as to wander around outside? He must have found a place to hide. It is probably safer than us. Mu Yanran slowly calmed down and nodded and said, Second uncle, you are right. I was anxious just now. If I go out now, it will make brother Youdao worried. Mu Yanran is a smart woman. Otherwise, how could she practice illusion? It's good that you figured it out. Ling Dingshan finally breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the sweat from his forehead with his right hand. He is the worst at dealing with things related to women, especially this kind of love. It's just that the situation was really urgent just now, so he had to grit his teeth and stand up. Once she figured it out, Mu Yanran immediately regained her wisdom. She took out a cushion and placed it on the ground, then sat cross-legged on it, took out a pill and swallowed it, and began to heal her wounds. Seeing this, Ling Dingshan's two mountain-shaking hammers fell to the ground with a bang. He did not take out the cushion, but sat cross-legged on the dusty ground, took out a pill and swallowed it, and began to heal her wounds. On the other side, Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao were the first to escape, but there were still many first and second level monsters chasing them. Fortunately, the first and second level monsters in the Zuanian lizard's territory attacked and attracted a lot of firepower for the two, which allowed them to escape successfully. The two hid in a cave, sat on the rocks, and kept panting, obviously very tired. After an incense stick, the two got better. Chuan Beicheng looked at Su Mao and asked, Su Mao, what do you think of this situation? Hearing this, Su Mao thought for a moment and said, the situation here is completely beyond our expectations. Indeed, before entering, the two had never thought that there would be so many monsters in this space. This was the first mistake. The second mistake was that they did not expect that after them, someone else would sneak in, and the key was that the opponent's strength was stronger than theirs. There are many other reasons like this, and it is these reasons that have led to their current situation. There were originally 6 people, but only the 2 of them survived until now. If Ling Youdao had not stepped forward to attract the attention of the King Shan Python, it is estimated that the bodies of the 2 would have been cold. Chuan Beicheng nodded and said, "Yes, it's dangerous outside now. If you and I want to survive, we have to put aside our past grudges and join hands to have a chance of getting out," Su Mao said helplessly. "That's the only way, Chuan Beicheng. I know you are the successor of the Jindan sect, but why don't you know that the ruins of your own sect are so dangerous?" Su Mao looked over, feeling unspeakable confusion in his heart. Chapter 232. The interior space of the green jade bottle has changed dramatically. 10,000 years ago, the disciple of the last head of Jindan sect used the teleportation talisman to escape from here and went to the east to seek help. But at that time, Zhenhe Palace had just been destroyed, and almost all the high-level cultivators of the eastern human race died in that war. There were only 4 Yuanying cultivators who survived the war, and they were seriously injured. Not to mention fighting back against the Western demon race, it was difficult to preserve the foundation of the Eastern human race, so how could they anger the Western demon race for the sake of Jindan sect? This person was only a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building. For the sake of Jindan sect, he re-established a sect called Jindan sect. The biggest secret of Jindan sect was the remains of Jindan sect. However, with the passage of time, many sects perished in the long river of history, and Jindan sect was no exception. When Jindan sect perished, it experienced a great turmoil, resulting in the loss of half of the Moyu Jade Plate. After several twists and turns, it was obtained by Su Mao, and he did not know where he got the remains of Jindan sect, and the fact that Chuan Beicheng was the heir of Jindan sect, that is, the heir of Jindan sect. The former wanted to enter the ruins of Jindan sect to make a fortune, while the latter wanted to restart Jindan sect and continue the inheritance of the sect. They came together and invited each other to come here to open the ruins of Jindan sect. This is the scene when the 2 first appeared. At that time, when Zhenhe Palace was first destroyed, in order to defend the foundation of the Eastern human race, the Yuanying monks of the 4 major sects compromised with the Western demon race and assigned the 10,000 islands chain to the Western demon race. The monks and mortals on it immediately returned to the east. The North Sea human and demon races were separated from each other and would never violate the border. The Western demon race initially agreed to this condition because they were afraid of the forces that led to the destruction of Zhenhe Palace. After all, it was a human cultivation force. But not long after, the Western demon race learned that the human cultivation force that led to the destruction of Zhenhe Palace had left. They regarded themselves as powerful, betrayed the previous covenant with the Eastern human race, and led a large number of monsters to blatantly sweep across the Thousand Islands chain. The Thousand Islands chain is the only big barrier for the Eastern human race to defend against the Western demon race. How can the Eastern human race give up easily? The Eastern human cultivators also understood that once the Western demon clan occupied the Thousand Islands chain, the Eastern human cultivators would be in danger of extinction, so they actively participated in the defense war against the Western demon clan. The 4 major sects jointly organized and gathered the various immortal cultivation forces of the Eastern human cultivators, and even the scattered cultivators active in various immortal cultivation markets, into a rope, which was how they defended the Thousand Islands chain. It was not until the 4 major sects relied on some resources robbed from the Zhenhe Palace to cultivate new Yuanying cultivators that the Eastern human cultivators completely consolidated the defense line of the Thousand Islands chain. Of course, at that time, the strength of the demon clan was still the strongest. They were the attacking party, and the Eastern human cultivators could only passively defend. In the ancient times, the Zhenhe Palace was powerful, and the Western demon clan did not dare to resist. In order to eliminate the scourge of the human race, the Zhenhe Palace took the lead in destroying the cultivation methods of the Western demon clan above the Yuanying stage. In other words, the Western demon clan can only cultivate to the formation stage, that is, the Yuanying stage, and there is no inheritance of the God transformation stage cultivation, so no God transformation cultivators can be born. Monsters are a double-edged sword. They not only bring danger to the human race, but also provide cultivation resources for human cultivators. Therefore, it is impossible for Zhenhe Palace to exterminate the monsters. Originally, the monsters did not have cultivators in the God transformation stage, while the Eastern human race had more than one God transformation cultivator, so the monsters could not make any big waves. But with the destruction of Zhenhe Palace, the island where it was located sank under the deep sea, and the inheritance of the god transformation stage of the Bihe human race was also cut off. Over the past 10,000 years, there have been absolutely many Yuanying cultivators in the Eastern human race who have the ability to impact the god transformation stage. Because they did not have the inheritance of the god transformation stage, they exhausted their lifespans and were unable to take the last step, and finally passed away with regret. Every time the ruins of Zhenhe Palace were opened, various forces of the human race were looking for the inheritance of the god transformation stage of Zhenhe Palace, but they found none. The inheritance of the god transformation stage of the human and demon races was cut off, so that neither race could give birth to cultivators in the god transformation stage, causing the overall strength of the Bihe immortal cultivation world to decline by more than a step. This has led to the current situation of the Bihe immortal cultivation world. The inheritance did not mention that there are so many monsters here, and I didn't know. If I knew, why would I come here? You are right. Could it be that these monsters were born gradually over 10,000 years? Chuan Beicheng waved his hand and said, impossible. As the site of Kingdom, how could there be so many examples of wild beasts turning into monsters? Besides, there are many monster tribes among them, who are born monsters. Then what do you think is going on? Hearing this, Chuan Beicheng thought for a while and said, there is only one explanation for this situation. Su Mao asked, what do you mean? They are all descendants of monsters that sank to the bottom of the sea with the island 10,000 years ago. There is no distinction between day and night in the ruins of Kingdom. The two big monsters and the low-level monsters in the two territories fought for an unknown period of time. In the end, both sides suffered casualties, and the Kingshan Python and the Black Flame Lizard chose to retreat to their own territories. They also had some concerns. After all, there were not only two big monsters in the Kingdom Gate ruins. If both sides were injured, they would probably be taken advantage of by other big monsters. The space of the Kingdom Gate ruins was limited. The more territory meant more cultivation resources, so other big monsters would definitely be happy to make up for it. The monsters in the two territories ceased fighting, and the Kingdom Gate ruins returned to peace. At this time, Ling Dingshan, Mu Yanran, Chuan Beicheng, and Su Mao rushed to move around. However, compared with before, the four were more careful and more low-key. At the bottom of the Kingdom Gate spiritual vein Spirit Eye, Ling Youdao was still trying to break the restrictions on the jade pendant. Suddenly, the jade pendant suspended in front of his chest flashed strongly, as if something was broken. He suddenly opened his eyes and said excitedly, great, I finally broke the restrictions on this jade pendant. Ling Youdao grabbed the jade pendant with his right hand, his face full of excitement and joy. Oh no, he looked around and was immediately scared. He did not bother to look at the jade slip, and immediately put it into the storage bag on his waist, and turned to look around. He saw that his head was exposed, and the water surface in his spiritual eyes only reached the height of his neck. Heart of Chen, stop absorbing spiritual energy. This spiritual vein is the energy support for the entire formation. Once the Heart of Chen absorbs all the spiritual energy here, the spiritual vein will fall into silence, and the formation can only rely on the spiritual energy in the air to maintain operation. But how long can it last like that? I believe it won't be long before the formation will stop operating due to lack of spiritual energy, and will eventually be crushed by the seawater. Therefore, Ling Youdao stopped the Heart of Chen from absorbing spiritual energy. Heart of Chen, send me into the space of the jade bottle. The next moment, he felt dizzy, and when he opened his eyes again, he was already in the space inside the jade bottle. And what he saw was a small space that had changed drastically. Chapter 233, the jade bottle space is radiant with spiritual light, and the divine consciousness reads the jade slip. The entire space was filled with a dense aura-like mist. The soil in the spiritual field was no longer dry, but moist with aura. 3 Yulo flowers, 2 frost gold grasses, and the green cloud fruit trees were full of vitality, and it seemed that a little aura was sprinkled from them and fell lightly into the soil. In the air, with the Heart of Chen as the center, a rhythmic aura was swirling around it. The silver-white light filled the entire space, mixed with the aura, and it was very beautiful. Ling Youdao sacrificed the yin-yang Zhuangyan sword, jumped up, and flew to the Heart of Chen. Then he saw a drop of Chen essence suspended in the central space of the Heart of Chen. This drop of Chen essence had countless rays of light flowing. There is actually more than one drop of Chen essence. Ling Youdao was very shocked and excited at the same time. The formation of Chen essence requires a lot of aura. In the past few years of hunting monsters, he collected a lot of broken corpses of first-level monsters and quietly absorbed them, but only 3 or 4 strands of Chen essence were formed. 1 drop of Chen essence is equivalent to 100 strands of Chen essence, which means that the Chen essence has increased by more than 90 strands. The heart of Chen led the jade bottle to absorb a lot of spiritual energy. Although it absorbed only 1/10 or 1/12% of the spiritual energy, it was still a very large number. With so much spiritual energy, only more than 90 strands of Chen essence were born, which shows how difficult the conditions for the birth of Chen essence were. Ling Youdao looked at the rhythmic spiritual energy surrounding the heart of Chen and was a little puzzled. Could it be that the heart of Chen can't take in so much spiritual energy in one breath? It's impossible. The heart of Chen is not small. The green jade bottle can only look up to it. How can it not take in some spiritual energy? Immediately, he sighed. Well, this matter is beyond my ability and beyond my control. Let's take it one step at a time. Ling Youdao flew back to the ground on his sword and put away the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword. The space here is inside the green jade bottle. As long as I carry the green jade bottle with me, it is equivalent to carrying a piece of spiritual field with me. A great spiritual field must not be wasted. Then he saw a flash of spiritual light in his hand, and suddenly a spiritual shovel appeared. Then he walked to the 2 frost gold grasses and dug the soil, intending to transplant the 2 frost gold grasses near the green cloud fruit tree, of course, including the 3 Yulo flowers. These are all 3rd-level spiritual medicines. It is convenient to manage them together, which is conducive to the growth of spiritual medicines. After doing all this, he took out a jade box. There are many spiritual gathering grasses in it. The main root and fibrous roots of each spiritual gathering grass are still there. Under the protection of the jade box, they can still survive after being planted in the spiritual field. I planted some and left some to the family. If I planted all of them here, it would be unreasonable. Ling Youdao only planted 30 spiritual gathering grasses in the spiritual field, and these 30 spiritual gathering grasses were the youngest among all the spiritual gathering grasses he picked. The age of the medicine can be as long as 20 to 30 years, or as short as only 10 years. Spiritual medicines cannot be planted too densely, otherwise multiple spiritual medicines will compete for nutrition and spiritual energy. Spiritual medicines are different from ordinary plants. They have great demands for nutrition and spiritual energy. If they are planted too densely, the struggle between them will be more intense, and the death of spiritual medicines will be a common occurrence. Therefore, when cultivators plant spiritual medicines, they plant them sparsely, just to cultivate high-quality spiritual medicines. It took him half an hour to plant all 30 spiritual gathering grasses in the spiritual field. Ling Youdao clapped his hands and looked at the empty space. Large areas of spiritual fields were still controlled. Alice, such a good spiritual field, but nothing is planted here. It's really a waste of natural resources. Waste is a shameful act. I will use all the spiritual fields here in the future and plant various spiritual medicines. Then, Ling Youdao's mind moved, and then the world spun around, and when he opened his eyes again, he had appeared in the spiritual eye of the Kingdom sect looking at the cyan jade bottle in his hand. He couldn't help but excitedly said, "Sure enough, my mind command can also enter and exit the cyan jade bottle." Before, he could control the heart of Chen with his mind. Logically, now that the heart of Chen dominates the cyan jade bottle, his mind command should also be able to enter and exit the cyan jade bottle. Of course, it was just a guess before, but it was confirmed at this time. Ling Youdao can indeed enter and exit the cyan jade bottle through his mind. He did not sacrifice the cyan jade bottle, so it is impossible for him to control the cyan jade bottle. Of course, with his mere foundation building period, it is impossible to sacrifice and refine spiritual treasures. Not to mention him, even a Jindan's Henrin cannot sacrifice and refine spiritual treasures, and can only use them reluctantly. To offer a spiritual treasure, one must have at least the cultivation of the nascent soul stage, and there are only a dozen people in the entire North Sea immortal cultivation world. That's not right. Ling Youdao stared at the jade pendant in his hand, and a bigger doubt arose in his heart. When I was in this bottle, where was the green bottle? But when I came out, the bottle was already in my hand. When I entered the bottle, should the bottle fall to the ground? This goes against common sense. The more he thought about it, the more confused he felt. In desperation, Ling Youdao had to give up thinking about this difficult problem. Things in the immortal cultivation world are bizarre and strange, and difficult to explain. If you fall into an alley because of thinking about this problem, it will be more trouble than it is worth. However, you must not enter the jade bottle space in front of others in the future. Every time you enter the jade bottle space, you should find a safe place first. The spiritual treasure is of great importance and cannot be sloppy, otherwise the Cangli Ling family will be in danger of extinction. Ling Youdao dare not be careless. Oh, and there's the jade pendant. Ling Youdao immediately popped out the Kingdom sect's spiritual veins and spiritual eyes and took out the jade pendant from his storage bag. I want to see what's engraved in this jade slip. As he spoke, he put the jade pendant on his forehead and probed into the inside of the jade pendant with his spiritual sense. The next moment, a string of words appeared in his mind. I had no choice but to take our sect's spiritual treasure, the green jade glazed bottle, and retreat to the place where the spiritual vein and spiritual eye are located. My disciple Hongxi, if you come back to restart the Kingdom sect, remember that the green jade glazed bottle was accidentally obtained by the founder of the sect and the Jianyuan sect. It is a low-grade spiritual treasure and must not be given to outsiders. It will not be passed down except by the sect leader. Remember. Chapter 234 Sword Control. It is indeed a spiritual treasure. I guessed it right. Ling Youdao was excited, even a little excited. It turns out to be called the green jade glazed bottle. It is a low-grade spiritual treasure. It looks like it has a great origin. After I get out, I must find out what kind of force this Bright Moon sect is. Bright Moon sect was one of the 8 major immortal cultivation forces of the human race in the Middle Ages of the North Sea, but it was later destroyed by the Zhenhe Palace. It has been tens of thousands of years since then. It is normal that Ling Youdao does not know. The white-haired old man sitting cross-legged at the bottom of the spiritual eye is Qiyizi, the 21st head of the Kingdom sect, and the treasure that opened the ruins of the Kingdom sect should have been taken away by his disciple Hongxi, but I don't know why it fell into the hands of those two people. Could it be that those two people are the descendants of the Kingdom sect? It doesn't look like it. One of them should be the descendant of the Kingdom sect, and the other one is unknown. Ling Youdao continued to read, and after a while he said, "Sword controlling technique. Is this a sword technique?" He continued to read with doubts in his heart. It turned out that the first thing engraved on this jade pendant was a sword control technique. When Qiyizi passed away, he added his own words in it, which was the first part that Ling Youdao saw. According to the above explanation, the sword control technique is just an overview. The whole method is divided into 2 parts, splitting the sword shadow and gathering the swords. The splitting the sword shadow is to transform one sword into 10,000 swords, and the 10,000 swords have the same origin and transform into reality, while the gathering of swords is to merge the differentiated sword shadows, so that the power is greatly increased. The highest level is the 10,000 swords returning to the origin. Of course, the so-called one sword into 10,000 swords and the 10,000 swords returning to the origin are just ideal states. The more Ling Youdao read it carefully, the more attracted he was. Although the second half of this sword method only has a concept, the first half is still a powerful sword method. If someone can complete the concept of the second half, really, when he said this, Ling Youdao didn't dare to say anything. This sword control technique is very profound. It is good enough for ordinary cultivators to understand and learn some basics. The cultivator who can learn the first part must be a great sword genius. As for the concept of the second half, I am afraid that I have practiced a Cangli Island, and the shortcomings in the skills have been made up, but I don't have a powerful killing technique. This sword control technique came at the right time. If I learn the sword technique above, my combat power will definitely increase greatly. By the way, Brother Yuxin is on the path of sword cultivation, and this sword control technique may also be useful to him. With his sword talent, if he learns this sword control technique, his strength will definitely increase greatly. In the past, Ling Youdao was just a key training cultivator who could get the blessing of the family. Naturally, he only considered himself most of the time. But now is different from the past. He is already a cultivator in the foundation building period and an honorary elder of the Cangli Ling family. The family can bring him very little blessing. Ling Youdao deeply understands that if he wants to go long on the road of immortality, a companion is indispensable. The increase in Ling Yuxin's strength means the increase in the strength of the Cangli Ling family. The stronger the strength of the Cangli Ling family, the more benefits he will get. Therefore, what's wrong with letting Ling Yuxin learn the sword technique? Ling Youdao retracted his consciousness and put the jade pendant into his storage bag. He immediately summoned the Yin Yang Zhuangguang sword, which was suspended in front of him. Ling Youdao made hand gestures, and the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword flashed with spiritual light, and immediately split into several identical lightsabers. Then, several yin-yang Zhuanguang swords flew out, arranged in a straight line in the air, and then changed to a straight line connected from left to right. Finally, several swords formed a circle, constantly changing various combinations. After a dozen breaths, several swords returned to one, the spiritual light shone, and the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword returned to Ling Youdao's hands. He held the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword and said to himself, "This sword technique is similar to my usual sword-wielding habits. The ability to split sword shadows is inherent in the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword." Ling Youdao just activated the relevant restrictions. But over the years, he has been using the yin-yang mysterious light sword's ability to transform several swords into one, and the integration of several swords corresponds to the gathering of many swords in the sword control technique. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. He has been using and pondering, and has gained some understanding and experience of this kind of sword technique. In addition, the yin-yang mysterious light sword has the ability to differentiate sword shadows, and continuously integrates several swords into one, which has been a great help to his early learning of splitting sword shadows and gathering many swords. Therefore, Ling Youdao felt that he was very suitable for learning the sword control technique. After I go out, I must learn this sword control technique well. Immediately, he looked at the spiritual eye. We came in such a hurry this time that the situation in the Kingdom sect ruins was beyond our expectations. There are too many monsters. There are only 2 big monsters that have appeared. We don't know how many big monsters are hidden in this ruined space. We are not well prepared, so we can only move like mice in here, timid and fearful. How can we find treasures? Now that we have attracted the attention of 2 big monsters, it is impossible to keep a low profile and search for treasures here. It is best to withdraw from the ruins of the Kingdom sect now, and explore the sect ruins from the ancient times when we are fully prepared. If this is the case, Ling Youdao cannot use the green jade glass bottle to absorb the spiritual energy in the spirit eye. Because once the spiritual energy of this spirit eye is gone, the spirit vein will fall into silence, and the formation protecting this ruin will collapse in a short time without a stable supply of spiritual energy. By then, this ruin will merge into the seabed, and it will be difficult for even a giant in real person to reach it, let alone a foundation-building cultivator. In this case, how can we explore this ruins? Therefore, Ling Youdao must ensure that there is enough spiritual energy in the spiritual eyes so that the formation can operate safely and stably. It's just that I need to do something important before I go out. When he said this, Ling Youdao's eyes suddenly became cold. Chuan Beizhang, Su Mao, no matter what, the Cangli Ling family, must take your lives, not to mention that the 2 of them were the first to escape when Ling Yuangu attracted the attention of the Kingshan Python. Just to be able to enter the Kingdom Gate ruins again, the Cangli Ling family must take their lives. Because the key to open the Kingdom Gate ruins is in the hands of the 2, that is, the Moyu Jade Plate, and each of them has half. Only if the Cangli Ling family gets the Moyu Jade Plate can they open the Kingdom Gate ruins within the specified time. Even if they get the Moyu Jade Plate, they must kill the 2. Because if they let the 2 go, the existence of the Kingdom Gate ruins will spread throughout the entire Beihaixuxin world. At that time, the Kingdom Gate ruins will not be an opportunity for the Cangli Ling family, but a great disaster. Of course, they couldn't stay in this space, in case the 2 of them were doing something wrong and affecting the Cangli Ling clan cultivators who came in later. Therefore, they had to be killed. Ling Youdao had made a decision and would not change it, so he flew out of the Xiankang directly on his sword. Chapter 235, Reunion, Ambush at the Exit. After Ling Youdao flew out of the Xiankang, he put away the yin-yang dazzling sword and used the light body technique on himself, and walked quickly down the mountain. His speed was not fast, but there was still the sound of the wind whistling past his ears. I don't know how Yanren and the second uncle are doing. I must meet them first, and then talk about the matter of exterminating the 2 people of Chuanbeicheng. The ruins of Kingdom sect are not big, but they are not small either. They just experienced a melee not long ago, so Ling Youdao did not dare to look for people in a high-profile manner, so his speed slowed down. However, an hour later, Ling Youdao, Ling Dingshan, and Mu Yanren gathered together again. "Third nephew, you are fine." Ling Dingshan looked at Ling Youdao with an indescribable joy on his face. Mu Yanren rushed to Ling Youdao's side and asked, "Brother Youdao, Where have you been? It has been a while since the monster melee ended, but Ling Youdao has not appeared yet. Mu Yanran is naturally very worried. She even thought that he had been buried in the monster's mouth. After all, the King Shan Python chased him that day. Now that she had seen Ling Youdao, Mu Yanran was finally relieved. I'm sorry to have worried you. Ling Dingshan stood aside, and after a while he asked, third nephew, now that our uncle is gone, what should we do now? Ling Dingshan had a very accurate understanding of himself. He was not a person who could make plans at all. Fighting was more suitable for him. Therefore, this difficult problem was directly thrown to Ling Youdao, and he only had to follow orders. Ling Youdao said seriously, we can't stay in the Kingdom ruins for now. Mu Yanran nodded and said, well, although the melee has stopped, the monsters are very vigilant. My second uncle and I were almost discovered by them several times just because we were on the road. Yes, we were almost discovered even when we were on the road, so how could we search for treasures in the ruins? Ling Youdao thought, I didn't expect it to be so serious. It seems that we have to leave here as soon as possible. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Ling Dingshan looked at Ling Youdao and Mu Yanran and said, we have one more thing to do before we leave. What else do we need to do? Ling Youdao met their gazes and said, get the Moyu Jade Plate. Hearing this, the two became even more confused. What is the Moyu Jade Plate? When Xuan Beicheng and Su Mao used the Moyu Jade Plate to open the Kingdom Gate ruins together, the two did not see it, so they did not know what the Moyu Jade Plate was. The Moyu Jade Plate is the key to open the Kingdom Gate ruins, the key to open this ruins. Nephew, you don't need to say it, we must get this thing. The three of them knew that once Cangli Lingshi got a Moyu Jade Plate, they could freely enter and exit the Kingdom Gate ruins. This is a relic from the near ancient times, and it is unknown how many treasures are hidden in it. Once Cangli Lingshi digests the treasures in this relic, its strength will surely increase greatly. Faced with such a great temptation, who cannot be tempted? What should we do now? Let's go find them, Ling Dingshan said with a little excitement. Ling Youdao waved his hand, the corner of his mouth curled up, and smiled. No, we will go directly to the exit and wait for them there. Ling Dingshan's eyes lit up. Okay, third nephew, you are still smart. Now the three people from the Cangli Ling family can hardly protect themselves in this relic, let alone Xuan Beicheng and Su Mao. Faced with this situation, the two of them must leave this relic and make sufficient preparations in the future, and come more times. Mu Yanran said, in this case, let's go out quickly and hide at the exit to prevent them from escaping first. Okay, the two nodded, each of them used the light body technique, and quickly jumped towards the exit of the relic space. The distance between the two places is not short, and the three people need to keep an eye on the movements of the monsters along the way, so the speed of travel is limited. An hour later, the three people from the Cangli Ling family arrived at the exit of the relic. They saw a whirlpool here, and they couldn't see what was deep in the whirlpool. Okay, we hide in the three corners, and when the two arrive here, the three of us will attack at the same time, and try to kill them in one blow without leaving any trouble. Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran nodded immediately and said, okay. Immediately, the three of them walked in three directions, and then their figures slowly disappeared. When did Xuan Beicheng and Su Mao come here? The three people from Cangli Ling's family didn't know, so they had to wait like this. On the other side, Xuan Beicheng and Su Mao wandered around in the ruins for a few more days, and narrowly escaped death several times. This made the two realize that the Kingdom ruins at this time were too dangerous and were not a place they could stay at all. Su Mao, it's too dangerous here. It's hard for us to protect ourselves with our strength alone. Hearing this, Su Mao asked, Xuan Beizhang, what do you want to do? Xuan Beizhang thought for a moment and said, the only way now is to leave this relic space. We can come in to search for treasures after we have made sufficient preparations or when the monsters here are less vigilant. Su Mao nodded, it seems that this is the only way. Well, let's rush to the exit immediately. The two of them also did not dare to fly the sword, but each of them used the light body technique and jumped away quickly. The three people of Cangli Ling family waited for a long time, and Ling Youdao estimated that it would take about a few days. Suddenly, two figures were seen jumping towards this side quickly in the distance, followed by a monster. The monster was furious and chased the two people closely. Not only Ling Youdao saw it, but Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran also saw it. As for the monster chasing the two people, it was provoked not long ago. But then Xuan Beicheng said, we have to go out anyway. Let's get rid of this ignorant beast first, okay? Su Mao responded immediately. The two of them were embarrassed by the monster before, and they had been holding back their anger for a long time. Now it was just the right time to vent it on this second-level middle-grade monster. Then the two of them turned around immediately, and at the same time, they offered their own spiritual weapons and went straight to the second-level middle-grade monster that was chasing them. The strength of the second-level middle-grade monster was not very strong, and both of them were cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building, so it didn't take long to kill the second-level middle-grade monster that was chasing them. The two of them collected the useful parts of the monster and discarded the rest. Because the storage bags of the three people could not hold the second-level middle-grade monster at all, and abandoning it was also a helpless move. Then, the two continued on their way. Be careful when you go out, after all, there are still those people's foundation building cultivators, and they may also ambush us, understood? The faces of the two also changed to solemnity. After all, no one knew what the situation was outside. As soon as the two arrived at the exit of the ruins, 3 spiritual lights of different colors shot out at them. Oh no, there's an ambush. The two were shocked and dodged immediately. Chapter 236, Kill and Leave the Kingdom in Ruins. The two men's reactions were fast, but the 3 attacks were even faster. Su Mao dodged a mountain-shaking hammer first, but was cut in half by a wind blade at the waist. Chuan Beicheng dodged another mountain-shaking hammer from Ling Dingshan first, then leaned back, and the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword brushed his arm and flew out. However, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he saw red light instantly shot out from the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword. The red light was extremely fast, and the distance between the two was very close, so he didn't have time to react at all. The red light penetrated his heart, turned a corner and returned to the yin-yang Zhuanguang sword. Chuan Beicheng looked at the 3 people who came out with great reluctance, and raised his hand with his last strength, pointing at Ling Youdao. You, bang! He fell to the ground before he finished speaking. He almost escaped. Fortunately, you reacted in time and killed him. The exit of the ruins was right next to him. If the two could not be killed in one blow, they would definitely escape from the kingdom in ruins immediately. The only person who was guarding outside was Ling Dingxi, who was in the early stage of foundation building. It was very likely that the Cangli Ling family would be killed by the enemy unexpectedly. If the enemy had a darker heart, and took advantage of the fact that the 3 Cangli Ling family members had not yet come out, they would have forcibly closed the entrance and exit of the ruins. In that case, the 3 would have been trapped in the ruins, and it was unknown when they would see the light of day again. But fortunately, the 2 were killed. Although some incidents occurred in the middle, the ultimate goal was achieved. Ling Youdao nodded, then walked forward to take down the storage bags of the 2 people and collected the spiritual tools they used. Then he said, "Let's go." Yes, then the 3 people jumped into the whirlpool. After a while of spinning, the 3 people had appeared on the sea, and their feet were the whirlpool leading to the kingdom in ruins. On the sea ship, a Cangli Ling family key training cultivator saw the few people and immediately shouted, "Look, the elders are back." What? Where are they? Where are they? One by one, the Cangli Ling family key training cultivators looked in the direction that the man saw. The Kigan cultivators who were tied together were worried that they would be killed by these murderers. Then Ling Dingxi summoned her flying sword and flew towards them. When she got closer, she smiled and said, "Third brother, you are finally back." The third brother she was talking about was Ling Dingshan, who was the 3rd person to successfully build a foundation. But Ling Youdao and Mu Yanran still called him second uncle, because Ling Dingshan was the second among the 4 brothers of the 2nd generation of the 7th house. Immediately, she asked, "Where's the eldest uncle?" When she didn't see Ling Yuanggu, she had guessed something, but she couldn't help asking in a trembling voice. Hearing this, Ling Dingshan sighed and said, "Sixth sister, this is a long story, but the eldest uncle is indeed dead." Ling Dingxi was puzzled. Ling Youdao and other cultivators in the early stage of foundation building could come back safely, but while Ling Yuanggu, who was in the late stage of foundation building, sat down and passed away. Something went wrong. In order to protect us, Grandpa attracted the attention of a powerful monster alone, which led to his death. After hearing Ling Youdao's words, Ling Dingxi was sad. "Okay, there are still things to do. Let's talk about it after we return to the treasure ship." With that, the 3 of them were about to fly away on their swords. Ling Dingxi asked, "Why? Aren't you going to reseal this passage?" "We don't have the ability to seal this passage yet. We need to wait for a while before we can seal any other passage. We won't leave this sea area for the time being. We will leave only after we seal this passage." After that, Ling Youdao and the other two flew away on their swords. Ling Dingxi looked at the whirlpool below and finally chose to follow on his sword. In a room in the treasure ship of Cangli Ling's family, Ling Youdao and the other three sat cross-legged facing each other. "We are all very sad about the death of our great-grandfather, but the dead cannot be resurrected, so we can only accept this reality. After this mission is over, we will return to Liuyan Islands. Second uncle, sixth aunt, what do you think?" Ling Youdao looked at Ling Dingshan and Ling Dingxi and asked. "After the death of our great-uncle, our strength has been greatly reduced. The Wandao Islands chain is a dangerous place. If we don't stop in time, we will lose both the wife and the army." Hearing this, Ling Youdao nodded. "Sixth aunt is right. Over the years, we have hunted many monsters and earned a lot of spirit stones. Take this opportunity to bring these things back to the family to avoid any accidents in our hands." Ling Dingshan said, "Okay, let's do it according to your wishes." "Well, this matter is settled." Immediately, Ling Youdao took out 2 storage bags. Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran certainly would not feel unfamiliar, because these 2 storage bags belonged to Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao. Ling Dingxi asked in confusion, "Youdao, what is this?" Ling Youdao's mouth cracked. "These are the storage bags of Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao." "What? They're storage bags. The storage bags are in your hands. Doesn't that mean that they have already?" Ling Youdao interrupted. "Yes, they have been killed by the 3 of us. Not only that, the other 4 foundation building cultivators also died in the ruins." Ling Dingxi said, "It can be regarded as revenge for my uncle." Ling Youdao clenched his fists and said fiercely, "It was the Kingshan python that killed my great-grandfather. One day, my Cangli Ling family will kill this monster and avenge my dead great-grandfather." Ling Youdao's anger came quickly and went away very quickly. "Okay, second uncle, you and I will sacrifice these 2 storage bags at the same time." "Okay." Ling Dingshan took a storage bag handed over by Ling Youdao, and did not care about the presence of others, and immediately started to sacrifice the storage bag with Ling Youdao. The owners of the 2 storage bags were already dead, and Ling Youdao and the other 2 were foundation building cultivators, so it was naturally very convenient to perform the ritual. "What are they doing?" Ling Dingxi looked at Mu Yanran and asked in confusion. "Sixth aunt, you'll know in a moment." "Yes." After 3 incense sticks, Ling Youdao completed the ritual first, and then Ling Dingshan also completed the ritual. Ling Youdao moved his hand, and a flash of light appeared in his hand, and suddenly a crescent-shaped jade appeared. Seeing this, Ling Dingshan also took out a crescent-shaped jade. Ling Youdao took the jade in his hand and put it together to form a jade plate. "This is the key to the ruins, the Black Moon Jade Plate, right?" Ling Dingshan asked, staring at the jade plate in Ling Youdao's hand. Ling Youdao said with some excitement, "Yes, this thing is the Moyu Jade Plate, the key to open the Kingdom Gate ruins. Now that it is in our hands, the Kingdom Gate ruins are the back garden of our Cangli Ling family, and my people can come and go freely." Immediately, Ling Youdao stood up and said, "You wait here for me, and I will come back after I seal the passage." After that, Ling Youdao flew away on his sword. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237. Check the storage bags, even private family property cannot be taken away. Ling Youdao flew to the sky above the vortex with his sword, and the Black Moon Jade Plate in his hand slowly flew up, emitting green light. Then he saw him pinching his hands, and the spiritual light flowed between his fingers and flew into the Black Moon Jade Plate. The sunlight shone in, was absorbed by the round hole in the center of the Black Moon Jade Plate, and then shot out from below in an instant, like a beam of light connecting the blue sky and the sea. The beam of light shot into the vortex, and the rotation inside the vortex intensified. After a dazzling strong light, the vortex disappeared, and the sea surface returned to calm. The spiritual light on the Black Moon Jade Plate dimmed and flew back to Ling Youdao's hand. He put it into his storage bag and flew to the ship with his sword. He looked at the 30 or so key training monks tied up by spiritual ropes on the ship, and said calmly, "Originally, I could have let you go, but now I can't." Hearing this, the 30 or so key training monks were panicked and kowtowed and begged for mercy. "Senior, please spare us, Please spare us, we are very obedient, today's secret must be kept. For the sake of my Cangli clan, you should die." After saying that, Ling Youdao suddenly had a ball of Cangli Island in his palm. Cangli Island flew out and split into more than 30 parts in the air, shooting at more than 30 Jindan cultivators. When Cangli Island hit more than 30 people, they all screamed, and then their eyes became dull and motionless. The Jindan cultivators of the Cangli clan at the side could not help but tremble slightly. Ling Youdao waved his hand and said, "Pierce their hearts with swords, and then throw them into the sea to feed the fish." Several people bowed and responded, "Yes, sir." Ling Youdao flew back to the treasure ship of the Cangli clan. Several Jindan cultivators of the Cangli clan looked at each other, and then used the swords in their hands to pierce the hearts of the people trapped by the spirit rope. Every time they pierced a person's heart, they immediately threw the body into the sea. After a cup of tea, an order came from the treasure ship of Cangli. Set sail immediately and return to Jindan Island market as quickly as possible. Later, the treasure ship of Cangli and 2 sea ships slowly started to move towards Jindan Island. Sea ships can sell a lot of low-grade spiritual stones, so Ling Youdao would naturally not abandon them. On the way back to Jindan Island, in a room on the treasure ship of Cangli Ling Dingxi, Ling Youdao, and Mu Yanran sat opposite each other. Then Ling Youdao took out a storage bag from his arms and held it in front of everyone. "This is the storage bag of my great-grandfather." Ling Dingxi and Mu Yanran were present at the time and saw Ling Youdao throw his storage bag to Ling Youdao. Ling Dingxi didn't know, but he also had a guess. The joy of getting the Moyu jade plate not long ago suddenly dissipated, replaced by a sad face. After a long while, Ling Youdao said, "Today, in front of my second uncle and sixth aunt, I will open my great-grandfather's storage bag. The 2 elders testify for me that I will only take things that belong to the family. I will never touch my great-grandfather's private property. After returning to the family, I will hand it over to my great-grandfather's direct descendants." Ling Dingxi and Ling Dingxi nodded. "Youdao, just open it. My 6th sister and I will testify for you." Ling Youdao is the elder of several people. Half of the treasures they obtained from the ruins of Kingdom sect are in his storage bag, and he died to protect Ling Youdao on the other 2. He was very good to the 3 people and was a meritorious official of Cangli clan. Now that he is dead, let alone the few people present, even the family cannot swallow up his private property, otherwise it will make all the family cultivators feel disappointed and no one will be willing to work for Cangli clan anymore. When Ling Youdao threw his storage bag to Ling Youdao, he took back his spiritual imprint on the storage bag. At this time, the storage bag was ownerless. Therefore, Ling Youdao could easily open the storage bag without any sacrifice. He probed into the storage bag with his spiritual sense and saw that there were many things stored in it. He did not hesitate and took out all the things in the storage bag. With a clatter, a pile of things piled up between the 4 people, including spiritual tools, magic tools, talismans, elixirs, low-grade spiritual stones, medium-grade spiritual stones, jade slips, jade boxes for spiritual medicines. So many things dazzled the eyes of the 4 people, and even their breathing became short. Ling Youdao had been building his foundation for many years and was very powerful. He had also traveled abroad in his early years, so naturally he had some belongings. Ling Youdao handed the storage bag to Ling Dingxi and said, "Second uncle, take a look." "Oh." Ling Dingxi just came back to his senses, took the storage bag from Ling Youdao's hand, and probed his spiritual sense into the storage bag. He immediately withdrew his spiritual sense and nodded, "Yes, the storage bag is empty." After that, he handed the storage bag to Ling Dingxi, and Ling Dingxi also probed his spiritual sense into it. Then he nodded and said, "Yes." She withdrew her spiritual sense and returned the storage bag to Ling Youdao. "Well, the 2 elders watch as your nephew collects your great-grandfather's private property." The 2 nodded, "Yes, the magic tools and spiritual tools are all your great-grandfather's private property." As he said that, Ling Youdao waved his hand, and several magic tools and a spiritual tool disappeared immediately, and he put them into Ling Youdao's storage bag. "The pills and talismans are also your great-grandfather's private property." He waved his hand again, and the talismans and several bottles of pills also disappeared. After half an incense stick of time, Ling Youdao said, "This is the private property of my great-grandfather. Second uncle, 6th aunt, can you check if my nephew has forgotten anything?" Hearing this, Ling Dingxi and Ling Dingxi looked at it carefully again, and then said, "That's all, okay." As he said this, Ling Youdao pinched his fingers with one hand, and a flash of light flashed on his fingertips, and he tapped the storage bag in his left hand. Then he saw a flash on the surface of the storage bag, as if a layer of light curtain wrapped around it. My nephew has placed a ban on it. After returning to the family, the direct descendants of my great-grandfather will break the ban. Ling Youdao took a look and then handed the storage bag to Ling Dingxi. 6 and, you will keep the storage bag? Yes, Ling Dingxi took the storage bag. Immediately, the four of them looked at the remaining things. Ling Youdao touched the storage bag on his waist, and after a flash of light, he took out all the jade slips and spiritual medicines he had obtained from the ruins of Jindan sect. Of course, the green jade glass bottle and the sword controlling technique were excluded. Seeing him do this, Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanren followed suit and took out the treasures they had obtained from the ruins of Jindan sect. Suddenly, the jade slips piled up into a small mountain, and there were also many jade boxes containing spiritual medicines. All the treasures I collected are here, Mu Yanren also said. All the treasures I collected are here. Ling Youdao nodded, and did not doubt what the two said. But he believed that the two of them definitely had some reservations and would never be stupid enough to take them all out. And the fact was just as he thought, Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanren did have some reservations. He took out another storage bag and put the pile of jade slips and a pile of jade boxes into it. This storage bag will be handed over to the family, the three said in unison. Very good. Chapter 238 Divide the treasure and return to Liuyan Islands. Afterwards, the three of them left. 1 month later, the treasure ship and 2 sea ships of the Cangli Ling family finally returned to Jinjiao Island. The sea ships were all registered on Jinjiao Island. Ling Youdao did not want to cause trouble, so he did not let the 2 sea ships dock, but stopped at the periphery of Jinjiao Island. The treasure ship sailed into Jinjiao Island and docked at the pier. Ling Youdao gave Ling Dingshan and a few others a few words, then got off the treasure ship and walked into the market alone. There will always be a black market in any Xiuxin market. The larger the scale of the Xiuxin market, the larger the scale of the black market, which deals with some shameful things. And these black markets are often opened by the owners of the market, and the purpose is to take advantage of both black and white. Ling Youdao was not sure whether Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao had accomplices. If not, it would be fine, but if there were accomplices, if he openly bought and sold the 2 sea ships again, he would definitely be targeted by the other party. He was not afraid of those who might exist, but he did not want to cause trouble, so he decided to go to the black market to deal with the 2 sea ships. The location of the black market is secret, and only a few people know it. It took a lot of effort and some spiritual stones to find out the location of the black market, and then he entered the black market under the introduction of that person. Everyone in the black market wore black robes and other treasures to hide their identities, so Ling Youdao naturally put on a black robe. He wandered around the black market alone, sat in a tea house, listened to people's discussions, or went up to ask. Sure enough, hard work paid off, and he really found a buyer. He left the black market with the buyer's people, and took the buyer's people to see 2 ships secretly. The buyer's people asked, Dao Arao, how many spiritual stones do you want? Hearing this, Ling Youdao raised 3 fingers. 30,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Too much? Ling Youdao waved his hand and said, not much. I see these 2 ships are still new. The original price of the 2 ships was definitely more than 30,000 low-grade spiritual stones. It was precisely because he got them by killing people, and the way was not right that he only asked for 30,000 low-grade spiritual stones. It's about 80% new, but it's not from a legitimate source. We have to take risks if we take your ship. The buyer's man talked a lot, and Ling Youdao could only helplessly say, Dao Arao, how much do you say? Hearing this, the buyer's man groaned. 20,000 low-grade spirit stones? 20,000 low-grade spirit stones? Isn't that a little too little? The buyer's man glanced at Ling Youdao. Our family has been in the black market for many years. It is definitely a time-honored brand. The price is also the fairest among the peers. 20,000 low-grade spirit stones is not a small amount. If you go to other families, it is estimated that you will not have 20,000 low-grade spirit stones. Well, then 20,000 low-grade spirit stones. These 2 ships have no ocean-going capabilities, so it is impossible for them to cross the vast seas to reach the Thousand Islands chain. The focus of the Cangli Ling family is on the Liuyan Islands. The reason they came to the 10,000 Islands chain is just to increase the family's income. The 2 ships could not be taken away, nor could they be used. It would be best to sell them, And they could also exchange some spirit stones to buy 1 or 2 foundation building pills to strengthen the family's strength and deal with the Fufang Jin family in the West. The old brand is worthy of being an old brand. Doing business is all about credibility. Early the next morning, someone came to Ling Youdao with 20,000 low-grade spirit stones. After Ling Youdao checked everything, he handed over the control of the 2 ships to the other party. The other party was also well prepared and immediately made some modifications to the 2 ships before driving back to the dock of Jindan Island. Ling Youdao did not buy things like foundation building pills in the Jindan market, because the Wandao Islands chain was a place of 4 wars at this time, with many monks gathered, and the prices of many materials were more expensive than those in the rear. Especially the foundation building pills that help break through the realm, and those pills with significant healing effects. After the handover was completed, they controlled the treasure ship to the east. The sun and the moon rotated, and half a year later, the treasure ship finally returned to the Liuyan Islands. After leaving Liuyan Islands for several years, this time he returned with a full load. Not to mention the tens of thousands of low-grade spirit stones he earned, the bottom space of the treasure ship was full of monster corpses. Once they were transported back to Liuyan Islands, they could definitely be sold at a good price and make a fortune. As soon as he returned to Liuyan Islands, Ling Youdao called Ling Dingshan to his cabin. When Ling Dingshan entered the room, Ling Youdao and Mu Yanran were already waiting for him. Third nephew, what do you want to talk to me about? Second uncle, please sit down first, we'll talk slowly, okay? Ling Dingshan was not polite and directly found a nearby futon to sit cross-legged. Go ahead. Ling Youdao took out 2 storage bags. These are the storage bags of Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao. I called my second uncle here today to divide up the treasures in the 2 storage bags. After all, we 3 have to work together to kill them, so we can't do without one of them, Mu Yanran also said. Second uncle, what Brother Youdao said makes sense, so I called you here. Hearing this, Ling Dingshan smiled and said, so you asked me to come here for this matter. Third nephew, tell me, how to divide it? Second uncle will listen to you. Ling Dingshan's physical and mental training is off, so he does need a lot of spirit stones to buy resources for body refining. But he has loved Ling Youdao since he was a child, so it is impossible for him to compete with Ling Youdao for resources. I have discussed with Yanran that if there is a resource in these 2 storage bags that is particularly needed by someone, it will go to that person first, and then the other 2 people will be given spiritual stones. Okay, Ling Youdao continued, after we have all finished choosing, we will exchange the remaining treasures for spiritual stones. Second uncle has made great efforts in the whole process. At that time, he will take 40% of the spiritual stones alone, and the remaining spiritual stones will be divided equally between Yanran and me. Logically, Ling Youdao has also made great efforts, and he should not only get 30% of the spiritual stones. And Mu Yanran's share should not reach 30%. But Ling Youdao and Mu Yanran are husband and wife, as the saying goes, husband and wife are of the same mind. Ling Youdao does not care about the extra share, and simply divides it equally with Mu Yanran. Ling Dingshan said, since it is the kindness of the third nephew, then second uncle will accept it. Ling Dingshan is practicing body cultivation, and the elders of Cangli Ling Clan all know that Ling Youdao gave him 40%, and he really had the intention of helping him practice body cultivation. Ling Youdao smiled and said seriously, you are my second uncle, okay, then. Ling Youdao opened the storage bags of Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao, and was stunned for a moment. How can there be so many treasures? What? Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran were puzzled. Ling Youdao immediately handed the 2 storage bags to them, and they were also shocked after seeing them. How can there be so many treasures? The 3 of them were puzzled, but also excited and happy. It seems that these people have looted the treasure house of King Dinman. Ling Dingshan and the other nodded and said, this is the only explanation that makes sense. How should we distribute it now? Ling Youdao looked at Mu Yanran and Ling Dingshan and asked. Chapter 239 Each take a spiritual weapon. Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran suppressed their excitement and looked directly at Ling Youdao. Third nephew, how do you want to divide it? Mu Yanran also said, yes, Brother Youdao, you should make the decision. My second uncle and I will listen to you. Hearing this, Ling Youdao thought for a moment and said, take out 20% and divide it into 4 parts. 1 part for each of the 3 of us, and the remaining part will be given to the eldest uncle's direct descendants, and the remaining 80% will be handed over to the family. Ling Yuangu died to protect the 3 people. If he hadn't attracted the attention of the Qingshan python, the three people would have been killed by the python long ago. How could they have had the opportunity to ambush and kill Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao, and how could they have obtained the 2 storage bags? Therefore, no matter from which angle, the treasures in these 2 storage bags should have a share of Ling Yuangu. Although he is dead, it should be inherited by his direct descendants, so that he will not live up to his sacrifice for the 3 people. Second uncle, Yanren, what do you think? Mu Yanren said, although we only take 20% to share, each of us can still get a lot. I have no objection to handing over 80% to the family. Ling Dingshan also said, my uncle died because of us. It makes sense for him to share the 20% with us. I have no objection. Then, he smiled and said, third nephew, I see that there is a good hammer-shaped spiritual weapon in the storage bag. It is just suitable for me. I will choose the hammer-shaped spiritual weapon. Ling Dingshan's face was full of smiles. Obviously, he was very happy at this time. Haha, second uncle really has a good eye. He recognized it at a glance that it was a top-grade spiritual weapon. This top-grade spiritual weapon was discovered by Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao in the treasure house of King Dinman. For this top-grade spiritual weapon, the 2 almost fought at that time. In the end, because they found the traces of several people from Cangli Ling's family, they temporarily put the problem aside and dealt with the people from Cangli Ling's family together first. After the people of Cangli Ling's family were killed, the ownership of the top-grade hammer-shaped spiritual weapon would be discussed. However, he never expected that he would be ambushed and killed by the people of Cangli Ling's family, and the top-grade hammer-shaped spiritual weapon that he had painstakingly obtained was given to the enemy for nothing. Ling Youdao and Mu Yanren had no objection to this, because among the 3 people, only Ling Dingshan used the hammer-shaped spiritual weapon. He took the hammer-shaped spiritual weapon out of the storage bag and handed it to Ling Dingshan on the opposite side. Ling Dingshan took the hammer-shaped spiritual weapon, put his right hand on it and kept rubbing it, and his eyes narrowed with laughter. Good baby, it's easy to shake a mountain, but it's hard to shake the sky. From now on, you will be called Jingshan Hammer. Oh, Jingshan Hammer? Second uncle, what a good name, Mu Yanren also said. Second uncle, with Jingshan Hammer, his strength will definitely increase greatly. Hearing this, Ling Dingshan laughed proudly. It is enough for me to have this heaven-shaking hammer, so I won't compete with you for the rest of the treasures. After saying that, Ling Dingshan lowered his head, stared at the heaven-shaking hammer in his hand, and studied it carefully. Seeing this, Mu Yanren and Ling Youdao smiled at each other. Yanren, do you have a favorite spiritual weapon? Or other treasures? That Jinxiu silk is good, I like it very much, and it is suitable for me to use. Ling Youdao was not surprised by Mu Yanren's choice. He immediately took out the Jinxiu silk and gave it to Mu Yanren. Jinxiu silk is indeed suitable for you. Jinxiu silk is a top-grade spiritual weapon that can trap enemies, defend, and wrap the owner to speed up flight. It is a multi-purpose top-grade spiritual weapon. Mu Yanren took the Jinxiu silk and looked at it, then draped it over herself and wrapped the 2 ends around her arms. Ling Youdao exclaimed directly, very beautiful. Mu Yanren smiled lightly. My second uncle and I both have spiritual weapons we like. Has Brother Youdao found this spiritual weapon we like? Ling Youdao's hand flashed with spiritual light, and suddenly a folded rope appeared. No. To be precise, it was a vine, showing a green color. What is this? Mu Yanren looked at the vine. Ling Dingshan was aroused by Mu Yanren's doubts. He suppressed his exploration of the heaven-shaking hammer and looked at the green vine in Ling Youdao's hand. Is this a green snake vine? Ling Youdao nodded and smiled. Second uncle has a good eye. This is indeed a section of green snake vine, but this section of green snake vine has been refined into a spiritual weapon, Ling Dingshan said with some regret. What a pity, it would be better if it was a living green snake vine. Green snake vine is a second-level high-quality spiritual plant. The vine body is like a snake and is also highly poisonous, so it is called green snake vine. However, there are very few living green snake vines in the outside world. Even if there are, they are deep in the 10,000 poison sea. Low-level cultivators dare not approach them. They are only common in relics from the recent ancient and medieval times. The green snake vine in Ling Youdao's hand was refined into a top-grade spiritual weapon, which can be long or short, large or small, and is also highly poisonous. He also has a wood spiritual root, which is indeed suitable for its use. He collected the green snake vine and asked, Second uncle, Yanren, Do you have any other spiritual weapons you like? Mu Yanran shook her head and said, I am still a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building. It is enough for me to have the top-grade spiritual weapon, Jingxiu Ling. I have already taken a top-grade spiritual weapon, which is a great bargain. I will not choose other spiritual weapons. Immediately, Ling Dingshan continued, third nephew, although your sixth aunt did not enter the ruins of Kingdom sect, but stayed outside, she still made contributions after all, although the family will reward her after returning to Cangli Island. Second uncle thinks that she should still be given a spiritual weapon. Hearing this, Ling Youdao nodded. Second uncle is right, and nephew thinks so too, he said uncertainly, but there are more than a dozen spiritual weapons here. Which one should I give her? As he said, Ling Youdao took out more than a dozen spiritual weapons from the storage bag and piled them in the middle of the three people. Ling Dingshan and Mu Yanran carefully looked at more than a dozen spiritual weapons, and for a moment they didn't know which one to choose for her. After a while, Mu Yanran suddenly said, Second uncle, brother Youdao, sixth aunt only has a low-grade spiritual weapon flying sword, and lacks a defensive spiritual weapon. Why don't we choose a defensive spiritual weapon for her? The low-grade spiritual weapon flying sword in Ling Dingxi's hand was given to her by the family when she just successfully established her foundation. Like him, Ling Youdao only got a low-grade spiritual weapon flying sword from the family. However, Ling Youdao has a good grandfather who gave him a defensive spiritual weapon, which is the black umbrella in his storage bag. Ling Dingxi was not so lucky. There was no foundation building cultivator among her direct elders, so no one gave her a defensive spiritual weapon. In addition, after the War of Genocide, the Cangli Ling family was poor, so she naturally had no extra spiritual stones to buy defensive spiritual weapons, and she had been using a low-grade spiritual weapon flying sword until now. Ling Youdao picked and chose, and finally chose a khaki shield. This mid-grade spiritual weapon, the thick earth shield, is quite good. Sixth aunt happens to have earth spiritual roots. Ling Dingshan smiled and said, very good. It was not that he was reluctant to give away the top-grade spiritual weapon, but that he no longer had any top-grade spiritual weapons, so he could only choose a mid-grade spiritual weapon to give away. Chapter 240 The Inheritance and the Jade Slip. Ling Youdao used Xuan Beichang's storage bag to pack 80% of the treasures, and planned to hand them over to the family together with a previous storage bag after returning to Cangli Island. Then he used Su Mao's storage bag to pack 20% of the treasures, and planned to sell the 20% of the treasures when he had the chance, and exchanged them for medium-grade spiritual stones. Second uncle, I will go and hand over how to done to sixth aunt. Ling Dingshan nodded, and he and Ling Youdao left the room together and returned to their own room. Ling Youdao went to the room where Ling Dingxi was, knocked on the door and said, Sixth aunt, nephew has something to discuss with you. After 2 breaths, the door was opened by Ling Dingxi. She smiled at Ling Youdao. So it's Youdao, what do you want to talk to me about? Although Ling Dingxi is Ling Youdao's sixth aunt, her actual age is not much older than Ling Youdao. Sixth aunt, let's talk inside the house. Oh, well, come in quickly. Ling Dingxi stepped aside to make way, and Ling Youdao walked in. As soon as he entered the room, he took out the thick earth shield that he had prepared long ago. Ling Dingxi looked at him in surprise, not understanding what Ling Youdao meant. Youdao, what do you mean? Sixth aunt, your nephew is here to give you this middle-grade defensive spiritual weapon, the thick earth shield. Hearing this, Ling Dingxi was shocked. For a foundation-building cultivator, any spiritual weapon is an extremely precious thing, worth many spiritual stones. Ling Youdao's gift to her was indeed beyond her expectations. However, Ling Dingxi considered herself to be Ling Youdao's elder, so how could she have the nerve to ask for a spiritual weapon from a junior? Although she was in great need of a defensive spiritual weapon. Youdao, sixth aunt appreciates your kindness, but this thing is too precious, sixth aunt really can't take it. As she said this, Ling Dingxi pushed the thick earth shield that Ling Youdao handed over to her. Seeing that Ling Dingxi refused to accept it, he immediately explained, Sixth aunt, when we came out, we ambushed and killed Xuan Beichang and Su Mao. This middle-grade defensive spiritual weapon, the thick earth shield, was taken from those 2 people. Although sixth aunt did not enter the ruins, she was guarding the entrance outside and guarding the other side's key training cultivators. You have made a contribution, so you can accept this middle-grade spiritual weapon. Besides, with this middle-grade defensive spiritual weapon, you will have nothing to worry about in battle and will be able to exert your full strength. Your strength will surely increase greatly, which will be 100 benefits and no harm to the Cangli Ling family." Ling Youdao gave a long lecture, and Ling Dingxi did not want the thick earth shield. So, she was persuaded and accepted the thick earth shield handed over by Ling Youdao. "Youdao, you gave Sixth Aunt such a valuable gift. Sixth Aunt doesn't know how to thank you." "What are you talking about, Sixth Aunt? We are all from the Ling clan of Cangli. It is normal for us to help each other." Okay, Youdao, you are right." Ling Youdao bowed and said, "In that case, Sixth Aunt, please sacrifice the thick earth shield first. I will take my leave first." "Okay." After Ling Youdao left, Ling Dingxi closed the door and immediately took out the thick earth shield. Just now, Ling Youdao was still there, and she deliberately suppressed her emotions. Now that Ling Youdao was gone, she showed her excitement. "I finally have a defensive spiritual weapon, and it is a medium-grade defensive spiritual weapon." After being happy for a while, she regained her composure. "First sacrifice this thick earth shield, and it will be safer when fighting with others in the future." After saying that, she immediately sat cross-legged on the futon in the room and began to sacrifice the thick earth shield she had just obtained. After the treasure ship returned to Tianyuan Islands, it took another day to reach Cangli Island and docked at the dock of Cangli Island. Several Kagan cultivators who returned alive jumped off the treasure ship excitedly, and their hearts that had been hanging for years finally fell. "I want to go back and have a good rest. I also want to go back and have a good rest." Just at this time, Ling Yuanxiang and Ling Dingzuan came together on the sword. "Youdao, you are finally back. Thank you for your hard work over the years," Ling Yuanxiang said loudly before flying close. When he flew close, he put away the flying sword and looked around. He seemed to have noticed something, but still asked, "Youdao, where's your great-grandfather?" Hearing this, Ling Youdao sighed. "My great-grandfather has passed away to protect us," Ling Yuanxiang said sadly. "Alice, what is coming will eventually come." He himself did not have much life, and he was naturally very upset when he suddenly heard that Ling Yuangu is dead. "By the way, where's Dingxi? Isn't she also?" Ling Yuanxiang looked at the three people and said nervously. Ling Dingxi was a foundation-building cultivator of the younger generation of the Cangli Ling clan. If he died at this moment, the loss of the Cangli Ling clan would be really great. "No, Sixth Aunt is in seclusion on the treasure ship, refining a mid-grade spiritual weapon." Ling Yuanxian breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. He then said, "Thank you for your hard work in the Wandao Islands for several years. Everything is for the family." Ling Yuanxiang nodded with satisfaction. "Although I am in Liuyan Islands, I also know that a red tide has erupted in the sea area near Jindan Island. The whole family is very happy that you can come back safely. You are tired too. Go back and rest first, and discuss everything after 3 months." A group of key training cultivators hurriedly said, "Thank you for your consideration, Great Elder. We will take our leave." Ling Yuanxiang nodded, and several key training cultivators left immediately. Seeing this, Ling Youdao and the other two also bowed and said, "Second grandfather, fourth uncle, we will leave first." "Yes." After that, Ling Youdao released Honggaiyu, and he and Mu Yanran jumped onto Honggaiu's back together. Ling Dingshan sacrificed a flying sword, and the three of them went to the 7th house compound together. With the death of my eldest brother, the power of the 3rd house has weakened, and the 7th house already has 4 foundation-building cultivators. After this trip to the 10,000 Islands chain, the 3 of them have improved in all aspects, and the power of the 7th house has been established. Although the 3rd house of the Cangli Ling clan is the strongest now, the 7th house has the most foundation-building cultivators. Ling Dingzuang said, "Second uncle, the stronger they are, the safer the family will be." Ling Yuanxiang nodded. "You are right." After Ling Youdao and the other two returned, they immediately closed their doors to sacrifice and refine the spiritual weapon they had just obtained. Time passed quickly, and 3 months passed quickly. The 3 of them completed the sacrifice and came out of seclusion one after another, and found Ling Dingxi to go to the meeting hall in the middle of the mountainside. In the meeting hall, Ling Yuanxiang said, "You are here, sit down and talk." Hearing this, the 4 of them found a cushion to sit cross-legged. Ling Yuanxiang got straight to the point and said, "You have been hunting monsters in the 10,000 Islands chain for several years. What have you gained?" Ling Youdao smiled and said, "The harvest is very good. I also entered a sect ruins from the near ancient times by chance." "What? Sect ruins from the near ancient times?" Ling Yuxiang and Ling Lingzong were shocked. Then, Ling Youdao told them everything that happened after they went to the 10,000 Islands chain. Of course, he did not mention the matter of the Kingdom sect's spiritual veins and spiritual eyes. After listening to his explanation, Ling Yuxiang and the other sighed. So, you have obtained the Jade Slip inheritance from the near ancient times. The prosperity of the Bihe human race's immortal way in the near ancient times was far from what the Bihe human race's immortal way can be compared to today. Therefore, many cultivators hope to find inheritance from the ruins 10,000 years ago, so as to promote the Bihe human race's immortal way. Chapter 241 Cheyenne Dafa, the true explanation of the formation. Ling Youdao met the gazes of Ling Yuxiang and Ling Lingzong, nodded and said, "Yes, we did obtain a large number of jade slips from the recent ancient times this time." As he said that, he took out all the jade slips in his storage bag. After a flash of inspiration, many jade slips were piled up in the center of the meeting hall, like a small mountain. The instant appearance of so many jade slips gave Ling Yuxiang and Ling Lingzong a great shock. The two opened their mouths wide and were speechless for a while. After a while, Ling Yuxiang said, "There are so many jade slips from the recent ancient times." Ling Youdao sighed, "Alice, although there are many jade slips, it's a pity that only a few of them are useful to the family. Although the Kingdom sect was a force in the recent ancient times, it even had a Yuanying ancestor in charge when it was strong. But when it was destroyed, it was only a Jindan force after all. In addition to the consumption during the battle to exterminate the sect and the damage over 10,000 years, there were indeed not many things left that were truly useful to the Cangli Ling family. Youdao, you must not look at the problem in this way. After all, these jade slips are all things that refer to the recent ancient times. Although they may not necessarily improve the strength of the family's cultivators, they have their own unique features and are definitely helpful to the family." Ling Youdao's heart was slightly lifted, and he humbly said, "Second grandfather is right." Ling Yuxiang nodded with satisfaction. The young man is teachable. Then he said, "Put these jade slips away for the time being. After we check them one by one, we will send them to the family's sutra pavilion in different categories for the children of the family to read." "Yes, sir." Ling Youdao waved his right hand, and the jade slips piled up like a small mountain disappeared in an instant, and were all collected in the storage bag in his hand. The storage bag suddenly floated up and flew towards Ling Yuxiang. Ling Yuxiang reached deep into his right hand, and the storage bag landed steadily in his palm. "Second grandfather, fourth uncle, in addition to these jade slips, we also got 2 jade slips in the ruins. The contents recorded in them are of great use to the family. Even all the jade slips before cannot be compared with them." "Oh?" Ling Yuxiang and Ling Lingzong looked at Ling Youdao in surprise. The jade slip in Ling Yuxiang's hand is of great value, and it is indeed of great value, but if it is said to be of small value, it is not that small. Apart from other things, the geographical records in it can convey the environment of the human race in the eastern part of the ancient times and the distribution of some forces. And today's cultivators can also find the ruins of the sects in the ancient times according to the records in the geographical records. There are many benefits, but it is difficult to list them one by one. If the 5 major sects of the Bihe human race know about it, although they may not take action to rob them, they will certainly find excuses to ask for them. And the value of the jade slips in a storage bag is not as good as 2 jade slips. What shocking content is recorded in the 2 jade slips mentioned by Ling Youdao? When thinking of this, Ling Yuxiang and Ling Lingzong couldn't help but tremble with excitement. "Youdao, since you dare to say so, it means you have read the contents above, right?" In this regard, Ling Youdao did not hide the slightest, and nodded directly. "Second grandfather is right, Yanran. Second uncle and I have all read the contents of the 2 jade slips." Ling Dingxi looked at Ling Youdao and the other two in surprise, because she didn't know about this matter from beginning to end. But Ling Youdao slowly explained, "We got these 2 jade slips from the 3rd floor of the Kingdom Sect's Sutra Pavilion. There are powerful restrictions on them. Although 10,000 years have passed, it is still difficult to break them. When we were in the ruins of Kingdom Sect, we could hardly protect ourselves, so we didn't take care of it. It was not until the way back to Cangli Island that we remembered these 2 jade slips. Second uncle and I each cracked a jade slip. It took us nearly half a year to break the restrictions on the 2 jade slips. It was also at that time that we read the contents of the jade slips." After listening to what Ling Youdao said, Ling Yuxiang said, "If it weren't for you, the family would not have obtained these 2 jade slips. It's understandable that you want to see the contents inside. It's just, if it's really as you said, the fewer people know the contents of this jade slip, the better. Once it spreads, it will not be an opportunity for the family, but a disaster. Second grandfather is right, we think so too. As he said, Ling Youdao took out a jade slip, and Ling Dingshan next to him also took out a jade slip. When the two jade slips appeared, Ling Yuanxiang and Ling Dingzhuang stared at them. They seemed to want to snatch them and read them immediately. Fortunately, the two of them were good at cultivating their qi, so they could hold back their inner throbbing. Ling Yuanxiang hurriedly asked, Youdao, what is recorded in the two jade slips? Hearing this, Ling Youdao took a deep breath, and his mind couldn't help but recall the situation when he had just broken the restrictions on the jade slips. As he spoke, not long after the treasure ship of the Cangli Ling family left Cangli Island, Ling Youdao found Ling Dingzhuang and gave him one of the jade slips. Looking at the jade slip in his hand, Ling Dingshan asked in confusion, Third nephew, what do you mean? Ling Youdao took out another jade slip and said, Second uncle, the jade slips in your hand and mine were taken from the third floor of the Kingdom Sex Sutra Pavilion. I have just checked it. Both jade slips have been severely restricted. But fortunately, after 10,000 years, the power of the restrictions has been greatly reduced. With our current strength, we should be able to break the restrictions above. Ling Dingshan's eyes were attracted by the jade slips in his hand, and even the sound of his breathing became heavy. The jade slips stored in the third floor of the Kingdom Sex Sutra Pavilion must be very important to the Kingdom sect. It might be the fundamental inheritance of the Kingdom sect. Ling Youdao said, we exchanged our lives for these two jade slips. If we don't read them now, we may not be able to read them when we return to the family. If there is really something important recorded in the jade slips, Ling Yuanxiang and others may not allow private reading of the jade slips for the safety of Cangli Ling clan. After all, the fewer people who know, the smaller the probability of accidents. If the family really sits like this, it is absolutely understandable. Ling Dingshan was moved by Ling Youdao's words, and his eyes showed a resolute look. Third nephew, we risked our lives to get this. If we don't see what is recorded in it, it will be too disadvantageous. Hearing this, Ling Youdao smiled wisely. Well, let's break the restriction on the jade slip separately. The two hid in the house to break the restriction on the jade slip, and it took 5 months to break it. Among them, Ling Dingshan was the first to break the restriction on the jade slip. He was so excited that he even probed into the jade slip. When he saw the content on the jade slip, he couldn't help but said in shock, the true solution to the formation. Although he was not a formation master, he knew that the formation inheritance in his hand was not simple, and the level was definitely higher than the formation inheritance of Cangli Ling family. 7 days later, Ling Youdao also broke the restriction on the jade slip, and was also impatient to probe his consciousness into it. The first few sentences in the jade slip were, Cheyenne Defa, directly reaching the Yuanying Avenue. Chapter 242 Situation. The jade slip in the second uncle's hand contains a third-level array inheritance, called the true explanation of the array, which explains in detail the knowledge from the first-level low-grade array to the third-level high-grade array. Hearing this, Ling Yuanxiang's body trembled slightly. It has been 600 years since the founding of the Cangli Ling family, but the array inheritance of the family is still stuck at the second level. The emergence of the true explanation of the array just fills the gap in the Cangli Ling family's high-level array inheritance. The key is that the Cangli Ling family has a second-level array master. As long as he integrates the content of the true explanation of the array, he will definitely go further on the road of array. Although he cannot become a third-level array master, he will inevitably become a second-level high-grade array master. Moreover, the results of this inheritance benefit many people, which has improved the overall strength of the Cangli Ling family and better cope with the current situation. Today, the 8 foundation-building families in Liuyan Islands are fully committed to cultivating foundation-building cultivators. Since the war, several foundation-building cultivators have been born one after another, and the 8 foundation-building cultivators are getting closer and closer. Whether it is for self-preservation or revenge, it is a threat to the Cangli Ling clan. The Fufang Jin clan in the west has become stronger and stronger, and has added several foundation-building monks in a short period of time. In this regard, the top leaders of the Cangli Ling clan all understand that Jin Chong'ai has used the Jin clan's foundation and vowed to destroy the Cangli Ling clan and unify the Liuyan Islands. This is only known to the top leaders of the Cangli Ling clan. What the top leaders of the Cangli Ling clan do not know is that the second-level upper-grade spirit beast of the Fufang Jin clan, the 8-clawed long-bearded seal, is refining a great demon pill, and it is very likely to break through to the third level and become a powerful great demon. If it succeeds, the Fufang Jin clan will have 2 golden elixir fighters, and the Cangli Ling clan will be in danger again. As for the northern section of the Thousand Islands chain, the situation is also complicated. Originally, with the death of Master Mu Ayan under the Yuanying Thunder Tribulation, the strength of the Baiyun sect has greatly decreased. The 3 forces of Heisha sect, Jindan Temple and Kanglong sect have united to suppress the Baiyun sect facing the menacing enemy. The Baiyun sect led by Master Mu Hai can only give in. But the 3 forces were pressing forward step by step, as if they were going to solve the problem of Baiyunman. However, at the critical moment, a late Jindan cultivator actually joined Baiyunman and became the supreme elder of Baiyunman. Baiyunman took the opportunity to repel the cultivators of the 3 forces and took back all the interests that had been occupied. Today, in the northern section of the Thousand Islands chain, Baiyunman is confronting Kanglongman, Heisha sect, and Jindan Temple, and Cangli Lingxi is confronting Fufang Qianshi. Fufang Qianshi and Baiyunman have an irreconcilable hatred, and it seems that Cangli Lingxi and Baiyunman may unite. As for Dangxin Pavilion, it is the only Jindan force in the northern section of the Thousand Islands chain that is not involved. I have gone too far. The most important thing at the moment is what happened in the Cangli Lingxi meeting hall. Ling Yuxiang flicked his sleeves, and a spirit sword appeared in front of everyone. The spirit sword turned into blue light and flew out of the meeting hall. This is a flying sword to send a letter, a method that only foundation building cultivators can use. I have sent a letter via flying sword to ask your 6th grandfather to come over. He is a 2nd-level formation master. If he knew that you brought back the 3rd-level formation inheritance, he would definitely be very happy. Hearing this, several people in the hall looked at each other and laughed. After laughing, Ling Yuxiang looked at Ling Youdao. Youdao, what is engraved in the jade slip in your hand? Because of the example of the 3rd-level formation inheritance, he and Ling Lingzong were more looking forward to the content engraved in the jade slip in Ling Youdao's hand. Ling Youdao looked around and made sure that there were no outsiders. Then he took a deep breath and said, "It is a cultivation method that can directly reach the nascent soul stage." What? A cultivation method that can directly reach the nascent soul stage? Ling Yuxian couldn't help but shout out, but as soon as he finished speaking, he immediately realized his wrong behavior. A cultivation method that can directly reach the nascent soul stage is also a cultivation method for the nascent soul stage. For the North Sea immortal cultivation world, which does not have a cultivation method for the god transformation stage, this is already a top-notch cultivation method. With this cultivation method, it is possible to become a nascent soul cultivator. Yuanying cultivators, with a lifespan of 2,000 years, are like immortals on land. Who can resist the temptation of becoming a Yuanying cultivator? In the Bihai cultivation world, when a golden elixir technique appears in the world, many sects and families will rush to snatch it, and it is unknown how many cultivators have died tragically. Once the news of Cheyenne Dafa is leaked, the cultivators of the entire Bihai will probably move and snatch this Yuanying technique. The 5 major sects definitely have Yuanying techniques, and each sect has at least one Yuanying technique. But who would complain that there are too many Yuanying techniques? For the Yuanying technique, they are willing to tear off the mask of hypocrisy. There will even be demon cultivators from the west sneaking into the east just to get the Yuanying technique. Even if they can't get the Yuanying technique, it would be great to destroy it. Anyway, don't let the human cultivators get it, especially the 5 major sects. And this is the attraction of the Yuanying technique to the Bihai cultivators. Ling Yuxiang realized the seriousness of the matter and immediately said, "The Cheyenne Dafa is of great importance. I need to report it to Uncle Jiu. We will discuss this matter after Uncle Jiu comes back. Youdao, the Cheyenne Dafa will be kept with you for the time being. Before Uncle Jiu comes back, the 6 of us will stay in the meeting hall and are not allowed to leave at all. This matter concerns the survival of the family. We must not be careless." Hearing this, everyone said very seriously, "We understand. Okay, Youdao, you put away the jade slip first. When your 6th grandfather comes later, don't mention this matter for the time being. Nephew understands." With that, Ling Youdao put away the jade slip engraved with the Cheyenne Dafa. The meeting hall fell into silence. After an incense stick, Ling Yuanchang changed his usual calmness and rushed into the meeting hall in a hurry. As soon as he entered the meeting hall, he asked, "Second brother, are you serious? Sixth brother, you are a formation master, you can tell at a glance." Ling Yuanxiang looked at Ling Dingshan and said, "Dingshan, show your jade slip to your sixth uncle." Hearing this, Ling Yuanchang's eyes instantly focused on Ling Dingshan, and he quickly came to his side. "Dingshan, hurry up, show the jade slip to your sixth uncle." "Sixth uncle, this is..." Ling Dingshan handed the jade slip to Ling Yuanchang, who took it and immediately immersed himself in reading. After a long time, he opened his eyes and said excitedly, "Great, with this thing, I will be able to go one step further and become a second-rank top-grade formation master." "Sixth brother, is it possible to become a third-rank formation master?" "Second brother, what are you thinking about? With my meager talent, it is impossible for me to become a third-rank formation master during the foundation building period." Ling Yuanxiang sighed. "Oh, it seems that I thought too much." "Second brother, Dingshan, please lend me this jade slip for me to comprehend for a period of time, and then return it." Ling Yuanxiang immediately said, "Sixth brother, you should burn a copy to comprehend. The original copy needs to be properly kept by the family." "Okay then, I will return this jade slip after I burn a copy." Ling Yuanxiang wanted to say something else, but Ling Yuanchang had disappeared. Chapter 243 Ling Jixin returns. Seeing this, Ling Yuanxiang smiled bitterly helplessly. "When did Yuanchang become so impetuous?" Everyone laughed, and he continued, "Okay, let's get on with the discussion." "Yes, Youdao, you continue." Hearing this, Ling Youdao spoke again. "In addition to the inheritance, we also picked a large number of spiritual medicines in the kingdom and spiritual medicine garden, including many second-level spiritual medicines. We only need to refine these spiritual medicines into pills, and the strength of the family members will definitely improve." "Oh? Which spiritual medicines are there? How many are there?" "The first-level spiritual medicines include yellow bud grass, key-gathering grass, and spiritual fruit. The second-level spiritual medicines include spirit-gathering grass, marrow-washing grass, etc. As for how many there are, I haven't counted them in detail, but according to my nephew's estimate, at least 300 furnaces of pills can be refined." Ling Yuanxiang stretched out 3 fingers. "He can actually refine 300 furnaces of pills?" "Yes, second grandfather, no more, no less," Ling Youdao said at the right time. "Okay, Youdao, after the meeting is over, you will order people to refine the first-level elixir first. When Uncle Jiu comes back and solves the Cheyenne Dafa issue, you will refine the Juling pill yourself. Now the Fufang Jin family is pressing us step by step. Time is running out. We must transform these pills into our strength as soon as possible, so that the family can be safer." In the entire Cangli Ling family, only Ling Yuansheng and Ling Youdao can refine the second-level elixir. But Ling Yuansheng is in seclusion refining the third-level top-grade Jijin pill, and has not appeared for many years, so the task of refining the Juling pill can only fall on Ling Youdao. Of course, Ling Yuanxiang and others did not know what kind of elixir he was refining. Ling Youdao nodded and said, "Nephew understands." As he said that, Ling Youdao put the storage bag full of spiritual medicine back. Before, the spiritual medicine and the jade slip were originally stored in one storage bag, but later he split them and put them in 2 storage bags respectively. Ling Youdao was in charge of the refining of the elixir, so the storage bag containing the elixir was still with him. Ling Youdao finally took out a storage bag. "Second grandfather, when we left the Kingdom Gate ruins, we ambushed and killed 2 people. This storage bag contains the treasures in the storage bags of those 2 people." "Oh? What treasures can be in their storage bags?" Ling Yuanxiang asked in confusion. "Second grandfather, my nephew said before that there were a total of 3 waves of people entering the Kingdom Gate ruins, and these 2 people were the leaders of the 2 waves." As soon as these words came out, Ling Yuanxiang's eyes lit up. It's easy to figure out that if a team finds a treasure, it must be placed in the storage bag of the leader. Because the leader can convince the crowd, and the leader's strength is basically the strongest among everyone, it will undoubtedly be safer to put the hard-earned treasure on such a person. As for the falling out over the distribution of treasures, that's another matter for later. So, Ling Yuanxiang believes that there must be a lot of treasures in Ling Youdao's storage bag, otherwise it's unreasonable. The fact was just as he thought. Ling Youdao said immediately, "There are a lot of ores, magic tools, spiritual tools, and various materials for refining tools and drawing talismans in the storage bags of the 2 We guessed that they should have robbed the treasure house of Kingdom sect. In fact, there were spiritual medicines that the two risked their lives to pick in their storage bags, including the marrow washing grass, but Ling Youdao moved it to the previous storage bag. Now that the family is at a critical juncture, we have decided to hand it over to the family after discussing it. Logically, Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao were killed by Ling Youdao and his two friends, so their storage bags should belong to them. As for whether they should be handed over, it is really hard for outsiders to say. The reason why Ling Youdao handed these treasures over to the family was that there were indeed many treasures in Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao's storage bags. Then he saw the storage bag floating towards Ling Yuanxiang, who caught it. After seeing the treasures inside clearly, he took a deep breath. As expected of the descendants of my Cangli Ling family, they are also wise. Then he said, I will take it to fill the family's treasure house. Ling Youdao smiled. I will follow the arrangements of second grandfather. Ling Yuanxiang put away the storage bag inside. Alice, the ruins of the ancient times, such a good place. I don't know if I will have the opportunity to enter again in the future. He thought that it was just a coincidence that Ling Youdao and his friends could enter the Kingdom Gate ruins. Since it was a coincidence, it would be difficult to enter in the future. Therefore, he was moved and regretful. After all, from Ling Youdao's tone, there were still many treasures in the ruins that had not been brought out. It can be said that there is a treasure mountain, but it is not available. Second grandfather, don't be sad. The Kingdom Gate ruins are already the back garden of my Cangli Ling family. Oh? What do you mean? Ling Yuanxiang looked at Ling Youdao curiously and puzzled. The reason why we were able to enter the Kingdom Gate ruins was entirely because of the help of the other two groups of people, because they had the key to open the Kingdom Gate ruins. Key? Could it be that the key is already in our hands? Ling Yuanxiang was not stupid. Hearing Ling Youdao's tone, he guessed that his side had already seized the key to open the Kingdom Gate ruins. Well, the reason why we wanted to ambush and kill Chuan Beicheng and Su Mao was because we wanted to get the keys from them. As he spoke, Ling Youdao took out a round jade plate from his storage bag. The middle of the jade plate was empty. This thing is called the Black Moon Jade Plate, and it's also the key to open the Kingdom Gate. Every year at noon on July 15th, the great formation enveloping the Kingdom Gate ruins is at its weakest. By then activating the Black Moon Jade Plate to draw in the light of the scorching sun, shining it on the sea surface where the Kingdom Gate ruins are located, it will be possible to communicate with the great formation of the ruins and open a temporary passage. As for how long this open passage will last, my nephew doesn't know. Okay. Ling Yuanxiang stood up excitedly, his old face smiling like a flower. In this way, it is equivalent to adding a secret realm to our Cangli Ling clan, which can continuously supply the family with spiritual medicine. Ling Youdao nodded and said, yes, and the Kingdom sect ruins have not been discovered yet. Due to the many monsters in the ruins, we only temporarily stopped the excavation. We must be extra careful when entering the ruins in the future, Ling Yuanxiang suddenly said. With this ruins, there is no need to worry about the prosperity of our Cangli Ling clan. Jin Chang'ai, that old man, wants to destroy our Cangli Ling clan, but it is impossible. Youdao, this Mo Yu is related to the rise and fall of the family. It must not be kept on the body. It should still be left in the family. Grandson, I understand. As he said that, he handed the Mo Yu jade plate to Ling Yuanxiang. Afterwards, Ling Youdao called the family's alchemy manager, handed over the first-level spiritual medicine in the storage bag to the other party, and ordered the family's alchemist to start refining the elixir immediately. Of course, the 6 people did not leave the meeting hall, and had been quietly waiting for Ling Jixin. 2 days later, a beam of light flew into the meeting hall. After the light disappeared, a man was seen standing with his hands clasped in front of everyone. Everyone immediately stood up, bowed and said respectfully, "Greetings, Third Elder." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Ling Youdao in the middle stage of foundation building. The man standing with his hands folded suddenly turned around. It was Ling Jixin, the third elder of the Cangli Ling clan, the only remaining cultivator of the G generation, who had the cultivation level of Fake Dan. Since the Cangli Ling clan lifted the ban and regained its own interests, he went to guard Cangli Island. It was precisely because of this fake Dan cultivator that the cultivators of the Fufang Jin clan on Rongayan Island did not dare to make trouble, and the interests of the Cangli Ling clan were safe. For so many years, he had never stepped out of Rongayan Island. Even when Ling Yuansheng wanted to retreat to make pills, it was Ling Yuansheng who personally went to find Ling Jixin. Now, Ling Jixin is back. If the children of the Cangli Ling clan knew about it, they would definitely think that something big was going to happen. Ling Yuanxiang's flying sword sent a letter to the foundation building cultivator in the clan to notify Ling Jixin to return. The foundation building cultivator rushed to Rongayan Island overnight and asked Ling Jixin to return to Cangli Island. Ling Jixin also thought that something big had happened, so he came back in a hurry. He looked at the 6 family descendants present and asked, "Why did you call me back so anxiously? What happened?" Hearing this, Ling Yuanxiang told Ling Jixin everything that had happened before. In a short period of time, the expression of the dignified fake Dan Zhenren changed drastically several times. Finally, he mentioned the Yuanying Gongfa Xian Defa. When Ling Jixin heard about the Yuanying Gongfa, the emotions that he had suppressed for a long time finally couldn't be suppressed. He said in a somewhat inappropriate manner, quick, bring that Xian Defa to me." Hearing this, Ling Youdao waved his hand, and the jade slip engraved with the Xian Defa appeared in his hand. Ling Jixin was instantly attracted by the jade slip in his hand. His figure flashed and took the jade slip away in Ling Youdao's stunned expression. The whole process was so fast that he couldn't react completely. Ling Jixin read the contents of the jade slip with his spiritual consciousness, and the expression on his face kept changing. After a cup of tea, he looked at everyone and said happily, "Yes, this is indeed a nascent soul technique, and the most important thing is that it is a water-attributed nascent soul technique. There are many water areas in the North Sea, and the number of cultivators with water spiritual roots is also the largest. The water-attributed nascent soul technique means that more people can practice this technique. Of course, such a powerful technique cannot be practiced by anyone. Uncle Jiu, the nascent soul technique is related to the safety of the family. Once it is spread out, my Cangli Ling family will be exterminated. I asked you to come back to ask how to solve this nascent soul technique." Hearing this, Ling Jixin said, "The Xian Dafa is not only the source of disasters, but also the opportunity given by God for the rise of my Cangli Ling family. If we abandon it and do not practice it, wouldn't it be a waste of the opportunity given by God?" Listen, the 6 people looked at Ling Jixin with serious expressions in an instant. "Pass on my order. All the cultivators with water spiritual roots in the family should immediately switch to Xian Dafa. Elders in the family who have the idea can also switch to this method. Xian Dafa is good, but the elders who practice this method must be those with water spiritual roots." Ling Yuanxiang worriedly said, "Uncle Jiu, with so many people practicing Xian Dafa, isn't it too high profile? What if Xian Dafa?" Ling Jixin interrupted Ling Yuanxiang without waiting for him to finish his words, saying, "Any cultivator who switches to Xian Dafa must make a heavenly oath and must not leak the practice to others, otherwise they will be killed by heavenly thunder. In addition, the key points of Xian Dafa can only be passed on orally, and can only be passed on to the next small realm of one's own cultivation. In other words, a cultivator at the 6th level of key training only knows the practice formulas of Xian Dafa from the 1st to the 7th level of key training. A cultivator at the 9th level of key training only knows the formulas for breaking through to the foundation building stage. And a person who has just established a foundation knows the formulas for the middle stage of foundation building, at most. If these people want to know the subsequent formulas, they can only break through to the next small realm. This method can undoubtedly greatly reduce the risk of Xian Dafa leaking out." But what Ling Jixin didn't know was that Ling Youdao and Mu Yanren had memorized the entire Xian Dafa, and Mu Yanren was ready to switch to Xian Dafa. Ling Dingshan didn't practice this method, so he just glanced at the content above. Although Ling Youdao also had water spirit roots, he was still unwilling to switch to Xian Dafa. Because compared with the Cangli Gizhanju, the Xian Dafa was obviously more than one level lower. Although his Cangli Gizhanju could only be practiced to the Yuanying stage, the immortal path was vast, and whether he could practice to the Yuanying stage was still an unknown, so he didn't want to switch to practicing the method. Besides, if he really reached that step, he could also go to the Zhenhe Palace ruins to look for the second half of the Cangli Gizhan Sutra. After listening to Ling Jixin's explanation, everyone nodded in agreement. Ling Yuanxiang said helplessly, "This is the only way." Ling Jixin said, This method is too precious and dangerous. It is not suitable to be placed in the family scripture library. I will put it in the top cave later. No one said anything about this. Ling Yuanxian continued, Uncle Jiu Youdao and his party have made great contributions to our Cangli Ling family. The family should reward them generously and not let them feel disappointed. Ling Jixin nodded, Yuanxiang is right. The contributions you have made this time are so great that it can be said that the family has nothing left to reward you with, but there must be a reward. Each of the 4 of you will be rewarded with 50 mid-grade spirit stones, a mid-grade spirit weapon, 2 third-level low-grade talismans, a heavenly thunder seed, and 5,000 family contribution points. Ling Youdao and the other 3 bowed their hands and said in unison, Thank you, Uncle Jiu Grandpa Jiu. The reward for those key training monks will be decided by Yuanxiang and Dingzong. Yes, Ling Youdao bowed and said, Uncle Jiu, several key training monks died in this trip, and even my great-grandfather was killed by a monster to protect us. I hope the family will reward me generously. Yuangu is dead. Ling Jixin was shocked. He just knew it at this moment. He suppressed his grief and said, Yuangu's reward is the same as yours, and 5,000 family merits will be added. The various rewards will be kept by the family first, and will be handed over when there are foundation-building cultivators among his descendants. As for the rewards for key cultivating cultivators who died in battle, they will be increased by 30% on the original basis. Yes, after that, Ling Jixin flew out of the meeting hall and headed for the top of Qingkang Mountain. After the meeting, Ling Youdao felt that his bottleneck had loosened, so he immediately returned to the 7-room cave mansion for retreat. He asked Mu Yanran to take Ling Yuangu's relics and return them to Ling Yuangu's direct descendants. Ling Yuangu's descendants were very grateful to Mu Yanran. Once the news spread, the Cangli Ling clan had a higher sense of recognition for her. Not long after, Ling Jixin left Cangli Island and returned to Rongayan Island. Ling Yuanxiang heard that Ling Youdao had gone into retreat to break through the middle stage of foundation building, so he didn't want to disturb him, and the matter of refining the Juling pill had to be postponed. Ling Youdao came out of seclusion after 2 years. He was now 63 years old and had become a powerful cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building. Chapter 245 Getting the Treasure. Because of the help of the heart of the River of the Moon, Ling Youdao's cultivation speed is comparable to that of a cultivator with a natural spiritual root. He reached the limit of the initial stage of foundation building a long time ago, and there is only one door between him and the middle stage of foundation building. But it is this door that has trapped him in the initial stage of foundation building for so many years, because the ability currently demonstrated by the heart of the River of the Moon cannot help people break through the bottleneck. Now that he has broken through this bottleneck and reached the middle stage of foundation building, his cultivation speed will enter a period of rapid growth, comparable to that of a cultivator with a natural spiritual root. This cultivation speed will continue until he encounters the next bottleneck, which is the bottleneck between the middle stage of foundation building and the late stage of foundation building. Seeing Ling Youdao come out of seclusion, Mu Yanran was very happy. Brother Youdao, have you reached the middle stage of foundation building? Yes, I have been stuck in the early stage of foundation building for so many years, and now I have finally broken through. Ling Youdao smiled, and he was indescribably happy in his heart. After a while, he asked, by the way, Yanran, have you sent your great-grandfather's relics to his direct descendants? How dare I not take your instructions to heart? I sent them 2 years ago. Ling Youdao nodded with satisfaction and asked, how did the clan members react to this? Hearing this, Mu Yanran smiled slightly. I feel that they are closer and more respectful to me. Then she said, I have to thank you for giving me such an opportunity. Ling Youdao asked Mu Yanran to send Ling Yuangu's relics with a purpose in mind. Although Mu Yanran has been married to Cangli Ling clan for some years, her surname is Mu after all, not Ling, and she has the blood of a foreigner flowing in her body. She was naturally excluded, and the respect of the younger generations in the clan for her was also from the respect of the weak for the strong, not the respect of the younger generation for the elder. Ling Youdao wanted to take this opportunity to let Ling Yuangu's younger generation accept and recognize her. Let the cultivators of the entire Cangli Ling clan understand that she regards herself as a member of the Cangli Ling clan, cares about the younger generations in the family, and let the cultivators of the family identify with her. Obviously, the effect is remarkable, and Ling Youdao's goal has been achieved. Mu Yanran knew Ling Youdao's thoughts very well. That's very good. After the two chatted for a while, Ling Youdao left the 7-room courtyard and went to the meeting hall to find Ling Yuanxiang. In the meeting hall, Ling Yuanxiang sat cross-legged on a cushion. "My nephew meets my second grandfather." When Ling Yuanxiang saw Ling Youdao, he was immediately overjoyed and said, Good, I didn't expect you to be a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building so quickly." Ling Youdao said modestly, "My second grandfather is too kind. My nephew is just lucky, haha." You don't need to be modest." Although Ling Yuanxiang said this, he was still very satisfied with his words in his heart, and his face smiled more. He then said, "Although the 7th house of the 5th brother was established the latest, it is now full of talents. In just 2 years, 2 people have broken through to the middle stage of foundation building. My second uncle has also broken through to the middle stage of foundation building." Ling Yuansheng was in seclusion, and Mu Yanren was still a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building. So the so-called 2 cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building were only him and Ling Dingshan. Ling Yuanxiang nodded, "Yes, not long after you went into seclusion, Dingshan also chose to go into seclusion to break through. He came out of seclusion 3 months earlier than you, and now he is also a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building." Ling Dingshan established his foundation earlier than Ling Youdao, and he also rested both his body and mind, but he only established his foundation 3 months earlier than him. From the perspective of time, his cultivation speed was not as fast as the latter. Ling Youdao was very happy in his heart and did not hide it at all. "Youdao, you came to me to collect the previous reward, right?" Ling Yuanxiang smiled at Ling Youdao and saw through his heart at a glance. Ling Youdao chuckled, "Second grandfather is wise. I am here to claim the reward." The family's reward for foundation building cultivators is very generous, and Ling Youdao and others need to go to Ling Yuanxiang to claim it. "Your reward is 50 medium-grade spirit stones, 1 medium-grade spirit tool, 2 third-level low-grade talismans, 1 heavenly thunder seed, and 5,000 family merits." Ling Youdao nodded, "Yes, that's it. 5,000 family merits were already allocated to you 2 years ago. This time you will claim the remaining rewards all at once." "Yes." Ling Yuanxiang slapped the storage bag on his waist, and 50 medium-grade spirit stones flew towards Ling Youdao. Ling Youdao rolled up the 50 medium-grade spirit stones with his sleeves, and after counting them, he put them directly into the storage bag on his waist. Immediately, 3 more spiritual lights flew towards Ling Youdao. The first 2 spiritual lights each contained a talisman, and the last spiritual light contained a walnut-sized blue-purple ball, which was the heavenly thunder seed. 3 rays of light flew into Ling Youdao's hands. He looked very excited when he saw the things in his hands. Because for a foundation-building cultivator, the 3rd-level talisman and the heavenly thunder seed are both life-saving items. These things were purchased by the Cangli Ling family after the War of Extermination. The quantity was limited and they were originally used to deal with the Fufang Jin family. But Ling Youdao and his friends had made great contributions, so they had to use these treasures as rewards. Tianyuan Golden Knife Talisman, Flowing Water Shield Talisman. Ling Youdao's voice was filled with a hint of excitement. Among them, the Tianyuan Golden Knife Talisman is a 3rd-level low-grade talisman. After being activated, a golden broadsword will appear. It is powerful and comparable to a casual attack by a real person in the early stage of the Golden Core. Although it is just a casual attack, even a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building must deal with it with all his strength. If this talisman is activated instantly when the enemy is unprepared, the enemy can be killed almost easily. The Flowing Water Shield Talisman is also a 3rd-level low-grade talisman. After being activated, a water shield will appear to protect the activator. The water on the water shield flows like a big river, which can offset the enemy's attack and protect the owner. It is a relatively good 3rd-level lower-grade defensive talisman. In dangerous moments, it can save lives. Xian Lizi is made by Jindan monks who practice thunder-attributed spiritual arts. This kind of Jindan monks bind the heavenly thunder and make it into Xian Lizi. Therefore, the power of Xian Lizi is huge. It is the nemesis of ghosts and monsters, and even weaker Jindan monks can be injured. The Xian Lizi purchased by Cangli Lingxi is only a defective product. It is not that they can't afford non-defective Xian Lizi, but they just don't have the channel. After all, the production requirements of Xian Lizi are high and the power is too great. It is a strategic resource and rarely flows out. Although it is only a defective product, its power should not be underestimated at all. Otherwise it will definitely die miserably. Finally, Ling Yuanxiang waved his sleeves, and a flash of spiritual light flashed in front of him. After the spiritual light disappeared, more than a dozen swords, spears, swords, halberds, sills, fans, hooks and forks. Every one of them is a spiritual weapon, without exception. Youdao, choose one. Ling Youdao took a closer look and found that among the dozen spiritual weapons, 5 were of medium quality, and the rest were of low quality. There was not a single high-quality spiritual weapon. Second grandfather, I'll take this Liangding, Ling Youdao said as he looked at one of the medium-quality spiritual weapons. Chapter 246, Refining the Spirit Gathering Pill. The growth rate of the spiritual medicine is abnormal. Ling Youdao is an alchemist, but he only has one magical furnace, which is not very helpful for refining second-level elixirs. This time, he came across a mid-grade spiritual furnace, so he decided to choose it. He carries a furnace with him and can refine elixirs whenever he wants. It is very convenient. The key is that it is very helpful for refining second-level elixirs. Do you want the Liang cauldron? Yes, decided. Yes. Hearing this, Ling Yuanxiang nodded, and with a wave of his sleeves, the Liang cauldron flew towards Ling Youdao. The Liang cauldron hovered in front of him, and Ling Youdao observed it carefully with curiosity. After a while, Ling Yuanxiang collected the remaining spiritual tools. After a few breaths, Ling Youdao also collected the Liang cauldron and bowed to Ling Yuanxiang. Second grandfather, nephew will take his leave. Hearing this, Ling Yuanxiang hurriedly said, Wait, Youdao? Ling Youdao stopped and looked at Ling Yuanxiang in confusion. Second grandfather, what's the matter? I asked you to refine the soul-gathering pill before, but you went into seclusion to break through, so I didn't want to disturb you. Indeed, there is a saying in the world of immortal cultivation, those who hinder others' path are worse than killing their parents. This shows how important cultivation is to immortal cultivators, not to mention the critical moment of breaking through, which should not be disturbed. Now that you have successfully broken through, your strength has reached a higher level and reached the middle stage of foundation building. Shouldn't you start refining the soul-gathering pill? Ling Yuanxiang changed the subject before Ling Youdao could speak. You should be very clear about the current situation of Lianyuan Islands and the current situation of the family. The foundation building cultivators in the family really need this batch of gathering spirit pills to speed up their cultivation and quickly improve their cultivation. Ling Youdao nodded seriously. Family affairs are my nephew's affairs. Grandfather, rest assured. I will go to the alchemy room and refine the gathering spirit pills as soon as possible. Well, thank you for your trouble. What are you talking about? These are what my nephew should do. After saying that, Ling Youdao left the meeting hall and went directly to the alchemy room. 2 years ago, he ordered the first-level alchemists of the family to refine first-level pills, and more than half a year ago, that batch of first-level pills had been refined. Moreover, the refined pills had long been handed over to the family, and the children in the key training period of the family had already begun to take those pills for cultivation. Ling Youdao easily came to the skill pavilion and occupied the best room. He first cleaned up the gathering spirit grass to make sure that it could meet the needs of 48 furnaces. Then, he asked all the alchemists to cooperate with a steward here to raise auxiliary spiritual medicines for the gathering spirit pills. In fact, there was no need to raise funds, because they were planning to refine the soul-gathering pill. In the past 2 years, Cangli Lingshi had already prepared the auxiliary spiritual medicines for refining the soul-gathering pill. As soon as Ling Youdao opened his mouth, a steward brought him a storage bag containing the auxiliary spiritual medicines for refining the soul-gathering pill. He checked it and confirmed that it was correct. Then he asked the irrelevant personnel to leave, closed the alchemy room, and began to refine the soul-gathering pill. The soul-gathering pill is a second-level low-grade spiritual medicine, which is most suitable for cultivators in the early stage of foundation building. Of course, cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building can also have a certain effect after taking this pill, but it is definitely not as great as the effect of cultivators in the early stage of foundation building. As for cultivators in the late stage of foundation building, the effect of taking this pill for cultivation is minimal and can be almost ignored. Ling Youdao is a second-level low-grade alchemist. It is not difficult for him to refine the soul-gathering pill. The only thing that concerns him is the success rate. After all, the higher the success rate, the more soul-gathering pills can be refined, which means that more people can use this pill, or they can use more pills for cultivation. First clean the furnace, then start the ground fire to raise the temperature of the furnace, also known as preheating. When the temperature is suitable, put in what spiritual medicine first, what spiritual medicine next, and what spiritual medicine last according to the order that has been arranged in advance. Each new spiritual medicine must be put in until the spiritual liquid of the previous spiritual medicine is refined, until all the spiritual liquid of the spiritual medicine required for refining the soul-gathering pill is extracted, and then the spiritual liquid of these extracted spiritual medicines is aggregated together. Aggregation has a sequence and cannot be aggregated at will. Because the medicinal properties of different spiritual medicines are different, random aggregation will not only lead to failure in alchemy, but even terrible consequences such as furnace explosion. This is not the first time Ling Youdao has refined the soul-gathering pill. Before going to the 10,000 Islands chain, he had refined it many times and had rich experience. It took him more than half a year to complete the refining of 48 furnaces of soul-gathering pills. Each furnace produced at least 4 pills, and one furnace produced 6 pills. 48 furnaces of pills, a total of 219 soul-gathering pills were refined and packed in jade bottles. With such a high success rate, even a second-level middle-grade alchemist would not have a success rate much higher than him. When the stone door of the alchemist that had been closed for more than half a year suddenly opened, the family monks guarding the door immediately bowed and said, "Greetings, elder." Hearing this, Ling Youdao nodded and said, "Clean up this alchemy room." "Yes, sir." Ling Youdao took the refined soul-gathering pills to find Ling Yuanxiang, and the two people guarding outside the alchemy room began to clean the alchemy room. They were very serious and did not dare to be careless. When Ling Youdao saw Ling Yuanxiang, he smiled and said, "Second Grandpa, I have fulfilled my mission and refined a total of 210 soul-gathering pills." He kept 9 soul-gathering pills privately and only handed in 210 pills. There are as many as 210 pills. "Great, Youdao, your alchemy skills have improved a lot." If the fifth brother knew, he would definitely be very happy with this batch of soul-gathering pills. The strength of many elders in the clan will definitely be improved. Thinking of this, he couldn't help laughing. After laughing, he said, "This time you made pills for the family must reward you." Ling Yuanxiang thought for a while and said, "How about this? I will reward you with 10 soul-gathering pills, 10 medium-grade spirit stones, and 500 points of family merit. Are you satisfied?" "Everything is up to second Grandpa." "Okay, then let's do it." As he said that, Ling Yuanxiang waved his sleeves, and 10 medium-grade spirit stones and a jade bottle containing 10 soul-gathering pills flew to Ling Youdao. After receiving the reward, he took his leave and returned to the 7-room courtyard on the top of Qingkang Mountain. He gave the 10 soul-gathering pills rewarded by Ling Yuanxiang directly to Mu Yanran, hoping that she could break through to the middle stage of foundation building as soon as possible. Afterwards, Ling Youdao went to the cave of the 7th room and quietly entered the inner space of the green jade glass bottle. After a dizzy spell, he opened his eyes and saw that the spiritual field in front of him had changed. No. To be precise, the spiritual medicine had changed. The spiritual gathering grass transplanted more than 3 years ago was at most 20 to 30 years old, and the younger ones were only 10 years old. Now, none of the 30 spiritual medicines are less than 40 years old, and even none of the spiritual gathering grass is less than 45 years old. There are also spiritual gathering grasses that are more than 60 years old. Rich spiritual energy can indeed accelerate the growth of spiritual medicines, but this growth rate is too terrifying, right? Chapter 247 10 times the speed of time. Ling Youdao couldn't believe it. What on earth is going on? For the unknown, both mortals and cultivators will feel fear. Why have these spirit-gathering grasses changed so much in just 3 years? He approached a spirit-gathering grass, and he was very familiar with the spirit-gathering grass in front of him. Because this is the shortest medicine among all the spirit-gathering grasses, it was only 15 years old when it was just transplanted. But now, the medicine age of this spirit-gathering grass has reached 45 years, a difference of 30 years. 3 years, 30 years. Ling Youdao suddenly had a bold guess. Could it be that 10 years in the space, but only 1 year has passed in the outside world? Once he had this guess, Ling Youdao couldn't help thinking about it. He immediately left the space of the green jade glass bottle and returned to the cave, collected the jade bottle and left the cave. Mu Yanran happened to be not far from the cave, and could see this place. Seeing Ling Youdao coming out, she immediately walked over and asked, "Brother Youdao, aren't you in seclusion practicing?" "Oh, I came out to find something," Ling Youdao said perfunctorily. Before Mu Yanran could continue to ask, he had already sacrificed the yin-yang Zhuangguan sword and left. He bought a seed of the 10-day flower from the family's good deeds hall, and then immediately returned to the cave where he was in seclusion. Ling Youdao walked in front of Mu Yanran without speaking to her. Now, his mind was all on the green jade glass bottle. He wanted to solve his doubts, and it was difficult for him to take care of Mu Yanran for a while. Ling Youdao waved his sleeves, and the stone door of the cave suddenly opened. He immediately rushed in, and the stone door of the cave slowly fell again. Before entering, he deliberately looked up at the sun in the sky to remember the position of the sun. Mu Yanran did not blame Ling Youdao, but her heart was full of curiosity. Why did Brother Youdao come and go in a hurry? After a long while, she could only shake her head and leave. In the cave, Ling Youdao entered the inner space of the green jade glass bottle. He randomly found a place and buried the 10-day flower in the soil. "I'll stay here for 10 days, and then go out to see how much time has passed outside. It takes a total of 10 days for the 10-day flower to sprout and wither. It will not be advanced or delayed due to the concentration of spiritual energy. It is most suitable for Ling Youdao to compare the time difference inside and outside the green jade glass bottle. The 10-day flower is stronger than ordinary medicinal materials, but not as good as the first-level low-grade spiritual medicine. However, it can be used as an auxiliary spiritual medicine for some first-level low-grade elixirs. Because it is easy to plant and grows very fast, it is widely spread among the cultivators in the early stage of key training. If you want to make elixirs, you have to pick it before the flower withers. Once the flower withers, it can't be used as medicine. But Ling Youdao doesn't want the flower of the 10-day flower, but to see it wither, because only when the 10-day flower withers, it means that 10 days have passed inside the green jade glass bottle. Time passed quickly, and not long after, the 10-day flower sprouted, grew, bloomed, and finally withered. Seeing this, Ling Youdao was happy. The time has come. After saying that, he immediately left the space of the green jade-colored glass bottle and went to the cave, and rushed to the stone gate of the cave in an instant. With a wave of his sleeves, the stone gate opened and he rushed out of the cave. Seeing the scorching sun hanging high in the sky, Ling Youdao said, "Well, the position of the sun has not changed, but I don't know what day it is now." He returned to his yard and found Mu Yanran. Seeing him, Mu Yanran asked in confusion, "Brother Youdao, why are you out again? Aren't you in seclusion?" Ling Youdao did not reply to her, but immediately asked, "How long has it been since I entered the cave for seclusion?" Hearing this, Mu Yanran felt that Ling Youdao was strange, but still said, "Brother Youdao, what's wrong with you? It's strange. You suddenly came out of seclusion yesterday, left for a while and returned to continue your seclusion." Ling Youdao said to himself, "Yesterday? It seems to be exactly 1 day. If so, 10 days in the green jade-colored glass bottle is exactly 1 day in the outside world, which means that the time flow rate in the green jade-colored glass bottle is 10 times that of the outside world." When he thought of this, Ling Youdao was very excited. The space of the green jade-colored glaze bottle is the best place to grow spiritual medicine. The time passes 10 times faster. In other words, a spiritual medicine that takes 100 years to mature only needs 10 years to mature and make pills in the space of the green jade-colored glaze bottle, which reduces the time by 90 years. A spiritual medicine that takes 1,000 years to mature only needs 100 years, which reduces the time by 900 years. In this way, it means that Ling Youdao can obtain more spiritual medicines in the same amount of time. Not to mention Ling Youdao, any cultivator cannot resist such temptation. "Yanran, I still need to retreat. I will leave now." After saying that, Ling Youdao immediately turned around and left. In the cave, Ling Youdao returned to the space of the green jade-colored glaze bottle. "It will only take 3 years for some of this batch of soul-gathering grass to mature, and then we can make soul-gathering pills." Although the soul-gathering pill has limited effect on cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building, it cannot withstand the large number. Ling Youdao believes that as long as the number of soul-gathering pills taken is sufficient, it will definitely help his cultivation growth. Can spiritual treasures affect the speed of time in a space? Ling Youdao had a doubt in his heart. Shouldn't it be possible, he then said firmly, no matter whether the spiritual treasure can speed up the flow of time, the green jade glass bottle certainly can't. He was not talking nonsense, but had a basis. The flow of time in the green jade glass bottle is 10 times that of the outside world. If 10,000 years have passed in the outside world, then 100,000 years should have passed in the green jade glass bottle. What is the concept of 100,000 years? The history of the entire North Sea's Euxin world is only 100,000 years. The existence of the green jade glass bottle may not be that long. If it is really that long, there will be no bamboo house, let alone spiritual medicine such as banyan fruit. In other words, the speed of speeding up the flow of time is not inherent in the green jade glass bottle. Then, there is only one possibility for this situation to occur. When saying this, Ling Youdao couldn't help but look at the heart of the Chen River, floating at the top of the space. The heart of the Chen River changed the flow of time in the space. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was right. After all, the heart of the Chen River had shown such a method to speed up his cultivation. It must be the heart of the Chen River that changed the speed of time in the space. Ling Youdao felt that the origin of the heart of the Chen River was mysterious. It was definitely a treasure of the immortal family that surpassed the spiritual treasure, otherwise it would not have such a supernatural power forever. Haha, good, this space will be able to provide me with a continuous supply of high-level spiritual medicines in the future, and my path to immortality will go further. After laughing, Ling Youdao thought to himself, it seems that I have to plant some spiritual medicines, and I can't waste the space. Then, he picked 3 Youluo flowers, 2 golden frost grasses, and the green cloud fruit on the green cloud fruit tree. These 3 third-level spiritual medicines have already matured. Before, they were just lacking in spiritual energy and the medicinal effects were not increased. After 30 years of recovery, these 3 spiritual medicines have recovered. Chapter 248, Practicing Sword-Wielding Skills. Someone from Baiyun sect comes. Both the Youluo flower and the frost gold grass have seeds. Ling Youdao buried 7 Youluo flower seeds and 5 frost gold grass seeds in the spiritual field. In order to ensure that the 12 seeds can germinate smoothly, he also buried a few low-grade spiritual stones next to each seed. I don't know how many seeds can germinate, he sighed softly. Although the banyan fruit has been picked, the banyan fruit tree is still there. As long as he is given time, new banyan fruit will be produced. After doing all this, he left the space of the green jade glass bottle and returned to the cave where he was in seclusion. Ling Youdao took out a jade slip engraved with a sword controlling technique from the storage bag, put the jade slip on his forehead, and read it carefully with his spiritual consciousness. After half an hour, he retracted his spiritual consciousness, embraced the yuan and guarded the oneness, put his hands together, and silently recalled the key points of the sword controlling technique. The jade slip was suspended in the air in front of him, emitting a faint green light. Ling Youdao's comprehension lasted for half a year, but he finally gained something. He suddenly opened his eyes and said with a smile, the way of cultivating immortals must not be closed door. It's time to go out and practice swordsmanship. After that, he opened the stone door of the cave and came out of the cave. With a blessing of the light body technique, he quickly came to the edge of a cliff. At this time, the sun had just broken away from the sea-level ferry, and a red disk the size of a car hood hung in the eastern sky, seemingly bordering the sea level. But after closing his eyes and opening them again, it seemed that they were not bordering. Ling Youdao faced the early sun, sacrificed his yin-yang zhuangguang sword, held it in his hand, closed his eyes slightly, and looked for the feeling described in the sword control technique. With a sword in hand, it was split in an instant. The real sword was virtual, and the virtual sword was real. The virtual and real were transformed, and there was no distinction between the virtual and the real. Then Ling Youdao's robe suddenly floated up, making a whirring sound. Then, he opened his eyes suddenly and shouted at the same time, sword shadow splitting. He shook the sword with his right hand, and the yin-yang zhuangguang sword trembled continuously. Only a buzzing sound could be heard, and this sound only lasted for a moment. 2 rays of light shot out from the yin-yang zhuangguang sword, forming 2 swords half a meter away. The 2 swords looked exactly like the sword in Ling Youdao's hand, the only difference being that the 2 swords were a bit illusory, and one could tell at a glance that they were fake. Unlike the sword in his hand, which gave people a real feeling, and there was a faint momentum coming from the sword. If the enemy could instantly lock onto the target with this momentum during the battle, the rest of the swords were just a cover, and this was the real sword for killing. This was a great disadvantage for the user. I used it. I really used the splitting sword shadow. Ling Youdao held the hilt with his backhand, looking at the yin-yang zhuangguang sword in his hand with some excitement, and the virtual sword, which was not very solid, immediately dissipated. This was the first time that Ling Youdao had used the splitting sword shadow since he had comprehended the sword control technique. Without activating the restrictions in the Yin Yang Zhuangguang sword, he had successfully used the splitting sword shadow in one go. Although there were only 2 virtual swords, and they were full of flaws, and could not be mistaken for the real thing, it was already very remarkable. It should be noted that many cultivators would not be able to perform a complete spell without 1 or 2 years after learning it from scratch, but Ling Youdao only took half a year. In comparison, he was indeed a little genius. I just performed the split light sword shadow, and I am not very proficient yet. What I need to do now is to practice more and try to separate more virtual swords. As the saying goes, eat one bite at a time and walk one step at a time. Don't think about eating a lot in one go. Ling Youdao's plan is to increase the number of virtual swords he can separate first, and then consider how to make the virtual swords he separated real. Of course, it is not real, he has not reached that level yet. For him, as long as the virtual swords he separated are not visible as virtual, it will be fine. Only when he reaches this level can he make the fake look real and confuse his opponent. In the next 6 months, Ling Youdao continued to practice the split light sword shadow, and he could separate more and more virtual swords. Looking at the 31 virtual swords in front of him, he thought, I can already differentiate 31 virtual swords. It's time to figure out how to make the virtual swords look real. Ling Youdao had thought about this problem before, and his little brain did come up with a solution. That is to combine the 2 virtual swords into one. In this way, the originally virtual swords become more solid and more like the sword in Ling Youdao's hand. After 2 months of practice, he finally managed to differentiate 16 virtual swords in an instant, and each virtual sword looked exactly like the sword in his hand. In this way, the virtual swords can finally be differentiated into real ones. The differentiated virtual swords are not real swords after all. There is a sharp murderous aura on the real swords, but not on the virtual swords. If this problem cannot be solved, those virtual swords will only look fancy, and the enemy can instantly lock onto the real swords and defeat them in one fell swoop. Once the real swords are defeated, all the virtual swords will disappear. Ling Youdao tried to draw a circle with his left hand and a square with his right hand to train his ability to do multiple things at the same time. However, the fact is that this kind of training is of little help to the use of the split light sword shadow. When he was using the split light sword shadow, he forced his momentum, especially the murderous aura, to the other virtual swords. But the result was indeed chaotic. I can't control so many virtual swords, let's try to reduce some of them. Thinking of this, Ling Youdao continued to combine more virtual swords, and the original virtual sword became more like the real Yin Yang Zhuangguang sword. The results still look very messy, but it was obviously much better than before. He seemed to have found a way for Ling Youdao, and his eyes were full of uncontrollable excitement. He continued to combine the virtual swords, and the number of virtual swords became less and less, and it became more and more realistic. As the number of virtual swords decreased, Ling Youdao's control became more handy, and those virtual swords also exuded a murderous aura. This continued until there were only 6 virtual swords, and finally the virtual swords and real swords were extremely similar, as if they were carved from the same mold. At the same time, the virtual swords and real swords had the same aura. When the enemy met, it was really hard to judge which sword was virtual and which was real. Just when Ling Youdao was refining the sword with peace of mind, the envoys sent by the Baiyun sect entered Qingkang Mountain and entered the Cangli Ling Clan Council Hall. Ling Yuxiang received them personally and ordered someone to call Ling Youdao to the council hall. The messenger came to the cliff where Ling Youdao was refining the sword, bowed and said respectfully, "Greetings, elder. The great elder asked you to go to the council hall." "Oh? Let me go to the council hall? Do you know what it's about?" Junior doesn't know, but it seems that it's because the envoys from the Baiyun sect are here. Hearing this, Ling Youdao frowned. The envoys from the Baiyun sect? What are they here for? Chapter 249 Alliance. Although Ling Youdao was very confused, he did not dare to ignore Ling Yuxiang's order. He threw the Yin Yang Zhuangguang sword in his hand, and then lightly tapped his toes, and easily jumped onto the sword, carrying him all the way to the meeting hall. When he arrived at the meeting hall, he put away the Yin Yang Zhuangguang sword and stepped in. In the hall, Ling Yuxiang was sitting cross-legged on a cushion in the middle of the upper seat, and on the cushion on the left side was a man with a broad face and thick eyebrows, about 60 years old. This man was also a foundation-building cultivator, Otherwise the two would not have been able to chat so happily. Ling Youdao's sudden appearance instantly attracted the attention of the two people. Ling Yuanxiang smiled and said, "Youdao, you are here." Ling Youdao walked forward, bowed to Ling Yuanxiang and said respectfully, "My nephew has met my second grandfather. I wonder why my second grandfather asked me to come here." Ling Yuanxiang did not explain, but introduced, "Youdao, this is Dao, the envoy sent by Baianman." He was curious about the envoy of Baianman, so he asked the doubts in his heart directly. "Fellow Taoist D, I wonder why the Baiyun sect sent you to my Cangli Ling clan." The Baiyun sect's envoy was named Deacon, whose strength had reached the late stage of foundation building, even higher than Ling Youdao and Ling Yuanxiang. Deacon met Ling Youdao's gaze and smiled. "Fellow Taoist, you are so young, yet you have such a high level of cultivation. You are worthy of being a hero of the younger generation of the Cangli Ling clan." Ling Youdao simply chose to ignore these polite compliments. Deacon laughed. "This time, I am ordered by the head of my sect to discuss the alliance between the Baiyun sect and the Cangli Ling clan." Alliance? Why did the Baiyun sect suddenly think of forming an alliance with my Cangli Ling clan? Just at this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside the hall. "When we were fighting a bloody battle with the Fufang Jin clan, why didn't the Baiyun sect come to us to form an alliance? Why did they suddenly think of forming an alliance with us now?" As he spoke, a strong man walked in. "Second uncle." Ling Youdao bowed slightly to the visitor. Ling Dingshan nodded, and looked directly at Deacon, the envoy of Baiyun sect. Then, several more people came into the meeting hall. Ling Yuanqi, Ling Dingzong, and even Ling Yuansheng, who was in seclusion to comprehend the true meaning of the formation, came. Ling Yuanqi also said, "The envoy of Baiyun sect came to Cangli Island. I'm afraid he didn't come with good intentions." Deacon didn't care about what the two said. He stood up and bowed, saying, "Emissary of Baiyun sect, Deacon greets all the Taoist friends of the Ling family. Baiyun sect is much stronger than Cangli Ling family, but he is still humble and does not feel superior to the power behind him. He is really a good person." Ling Yuanxiang said at the right time, "Fellow Taoist D, please sit down." Then he looked at Ling Youdao and the others and said seriously, "You should also find a place to sit down." Hearing this, the few people did not say anything and sat directly on the futon opposite Deacon. "Fellow Taoist D, why did Baiyun sect suddenly think of forming an alliance with our Cangli Ling family? I am also very curious." Deacon smiled and said frankly, "I will not hide it from you fellow Taoists. There are a total of 7 forces in the northern section of the Thousand Islands chain that possess Jindan combat power. Only Dangxin sect is independent of the world and does not participate in the disputes among the sects. Now our 6 forces have been divided into 4 factions. Kanglong sect, Haisha sect, and Jinshan temple are combined into 1 force, and Baiyun sect, Cangli Ling family, and Fufang Jin family are each in 1 force. The 3 factions of Kanglong sect, Haisha sect, and Jinshan temple obstructed our sect's true man Mu Yun from overcoming the nascent soul thunder tribulation, causing true man Mu Yun to fall under the nascent soul thunder tribulation, so that Baiyun sect missed an opportunity to rise. Afterwards, they repeatedly provoked and wanted to destroy our Baiyun sect. The hatred between our sect and these 3 factions is irreconcilable." Cangli Ling family and others listened carefully and did not speak. It was not a secret. All the cultivators in the northern section of the Thousand Islands chain knew it. Deacon looked at the others and continued, "And the relationship between your Cangli Ling clan and Fufang Jin clan is like the relationship between Baiyun sect and the 3 sects. They are like fire and water, and cannot be reconciled. The only way is to fight it out, to determine who is superior and who is inferior, and to fight for survival." Then, he changed the subject. "Baiyun sect can help you destroy Fufang Jin clan. Baiyun sect wants to help my Cangli Ling clan destroy Fufang Jin clan? I'm afraid you don't have such good intentions, do you?" Ling Yuanxiang stared at Deacon, his eyes narrowed slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled up. "Of course my sect will not help you for nothing, but you need to agree to a condition from my sect," Ling Yuanxiang said in his heart. Sure enough, as the saying goes, there is no free lunch in the world, and it is normal for Baiyun sect to have conditions. If Deacon said there were no conditions, Ling Yuanxiang would doubt Baiyun sect's intentions. What does Baiyun sect want? Tell me about it. It's simple. After Cangli Ling's family destroys Fufang Jin's family, they must join our faction to deal with the 3 sects. Ling Dingzong said, "What if we destroy Fufang Jin's family and they refuse to acknowledge it?" Kun smiled and said, so we need to sign an alliance between our two forces first. Once the alliance is signed, Heisha sect, Kanglong sect, and Jinshan temple will regard Cangli Ling's family as enemies. You can't refuse to acknowledge it even if you want to. Ling Yuanxiang nodded, agreeing with what Kun said. The three sects are powerful, and my Cangli Ling's family is weak. How dare we form an alliance with Baiyun sect and offend them? Ling Yuanxiang's worries are not unreasonable. Baiyun Mountain is difficult to attack. Is Qingkang Mountain as difficult to attack as Baiyun Mountain? If the three sects can't find a breakthrough in Baiyun sect, they may turn to attack Cangli Ling's family, thus cutting off Baiyun sect's external aid. Kun said, don't worry, fellow Taoist, Feng Yi, who is in the late Jindan stage, has joined our Baiyun sect and is our supreme elder. Our sect has 4 Jindan masters. Once the 3 sects dare to attack Qingkang Mountain, our Jindan masters will definitely come to rescue. Ling Yuanxiang did not comment, but Ling Youdao asked, fellow Taoist D, as far as I know, the Fu Fang Jin family has a good relationship with your Baiyun sect. When Master Mu Ain was going through the Yuanying Thunder Tribulation, Master Jin helped the Baiyun sect. Although Master Jin escaped halfway, he was forced to do so to save his life. The relationship between Baiyun sect and the Fu Fang Jin family is much deeper than its relationship with the Cangli Ling family. Why did you choose to help my Cangli Ling family destroy the Fu Fang Jin family instead of helping the Fu Fang Jin family destroy my Cangli Ling family? As soon as these words came out, several people from the Cangli Ling family looked at Kun together, wanting to hear his explanation. Kun sighed, Master had expected you to ask about this matter, and has already told me the reason. Oh? I'd like to hear more about it. When Jin Songhai helped our sect resist the foreign enemies, our sect paid a huge price. The deposit alone was a demon peel of a 3rd level low-grade great demon. Fortunately, this person escaped. If he had persisted to the end, our sect would have to help him break through to the middle stage of the golden peel as agreed, and I don't know how much resources would have been wasted. When he said this, Kun felt relieved. The people of Cangli and Lingxi all felt a chill in their hearts, and a layer of cold sweat broke out on their backs. Chapter 250, Going Up Baiyun Mountain Again, Furious. Fortunately, Jin Songhai ran away because things were not going well. Otherwise, if he had insisted to the end and Baiyunman fulfilled its promise, then Cangli Lingxi would be finished. However, the next moment, several people began to feel uneasy again, because Fu Fang Qianshi had a big demon pill. Why did Jin Songhai want the big demon pill? There are only 2 uses, either to cultivate fake pale monks or to cultivate 3rd level inferior big demons. But several people think that the possibility of cultivating 3rd level inferior big demons is high, not only because the strength of 3rd level inferior big demons is stronger than fake pale monks, but also because Fu Fang Qianshi has a spirit beast that has been stuck in the 2nd level upper grade for many years. That is, the 8-clawed long-bearded seal. At the beginning, the accumulation of the 8-clawed long-bearded seal was not as good as the Zhuangshu giant turtle of Cangli Lingxi. But if Jin Songhai insisted on letting the 8-clawed long-bearded seal use the big demon pill, then he would definitely use a lot of resources to improve its accumulation. In this way, with the big demon pill as a guide, the probability of the 8-clawed long-bearded seal breaking through to the 3rd level inferior big demon is very high. Of course, even if it breaks through, its strength is far from comparable to the Zhuangshu giant turtle of the Cangli Ling clan. After all, the Zhuangshu giant turtle used the 3rd grade upper grade great demon pill to break through, while the 8-clawed long-bearded seal used the 3rd grade lower grade great demon pill to break through. The foundations of the 2 monsters are incomparable. However, even if it is not a match for the Zhuangshu giant turtle, it is enough to deal with Ling Jixin. Add Jin Songhai, and the Cangli Ling clan is in danger. Such an idea popped up in the minds of several people at the same time. Ling Yuanxiang looked at them and asked, what do you think of the alliance with Baiyunman? Ling Yuanxiang said, yes. Ling Youdao also nodded and said, under the current situation, it is better for us to form an alliance with Baiyunman. Ling Dingshan did not speak, but he was thinking in his heart, Dad, you must refine the Jijin pill, otherwise the family will be in danger. Ling Yuanxiang nodded and looked at Kun. In this case, Cangli Ling clan is willing to form an alliance with Baiyun sect. Wait, Ling Youdao suddenly stopped them. Several people looked at him in surprise. Ling Yuanxiang asked, Youdao, what's wrong with that? Ling Youdao looked at Kun and smiled slightly. Please ask Baiyun sect to agree to one condition of Cangli Ling Clan. Hearing this, Kun frowned, but still asked, what condition? Support a batch of supplies to Cangli Ling Clan. Okay, fellow Taoist D, don't agree too early. This batch of supplies is not simple. Kun stared at Ling Youdao closely and asked with a serious expression, what do you want? The latter was not affected at all and said, foundation building pill. Absolutely impossible. The four big words blurted out, and the voice was so loud that it could be heard outside the meeting hall. Fellow Taoist, you are too greedy. If Cangli Ling Clan uses the support of foundation building pill as the condition for the alliance, there is no need to report to the head of the sect that can reply to you. It is absolutely impossible. Foundation building pill is not expensive. The treasure is precious because of the small quantity. Cangli Ling Clan is not like Baiyun Clan that can refine foundation building pills by itself, although the amount refined each time is very small. Ling Youdao guessed that in order to deal with the three sects, Master Muhai must have used the foundation of the sect and purchased a lot of foundation building pills. He hoped that more foundation building cultivators would be born to stabilize the current crisis of Baiyun Clan. Ling Yuanxiang and others couldn't figure out what Ling Youdao was going to do. Support foundation building pills? I'm afraid only the 5 major sects have the capital to do such a thing. Baiyun Clan would definitely not agree. There's no need to think about it, unless the senior leaders of Baiyun Clan have a cramp in their heads. I know Baiyun Clan won't agree, so I want to use spirit stones to buy your sect's foundation building pills. As soon as these words came out, Ling Yuanxiang and others' eyes suddenly lit up. Great! Buying the foundation building pills from Baiyun Clan greatly shortens the journey, and can be purchased at one time, which undoubtedly greatly reduces the risk, and if things go well, you can bargain and give less spirit stones, which is really a good idea. Hearing Ling Youdao talking about the spirit stone purchase, Kun's face looked better. After hesitating for a while, he said, I cannot make the decision on this matter. I need to consult the master, but I think the chance of success is very high. Ling Yuanxiang said, please come to the side hall to rest for a while, fellow Taoist D, and we will discuss it. Okay. After that, Kun stood up and left the meeting hall and went to the side hall under the guidance of the maid. What do you think of the conditions proposed by Youdao? Ling Dingzhuang said. Just as fellow Taoist D said, there is a great possibility that Baiyunman will agree, but we need to send someone to Baiyunman for a face-to-face meeting. Well, if Baiyunman agrees, how many foundation establishment pills should we buy? Ling Dingzhuang thought for a while and said, even if Baiyunman will sell us foundation establishment pills, it will definitely not exceed 5. It is appropriate to buy 3 or 4 foundation establishment pills. Exceeding the limit will affect the payment of the family's monthly interest, etc. Well, that depends on the situation. Let's see whether to buy 3 or 4, he immediately said. Who's going to Baiyunman? Ling Dingzhuang said. Second uncle, Youdao and I will go. Ling Yuanxiang nodded. Okay, I'll feel more at ease if you two go, he immediately said. You need to carry a lot of spirit stones on this trip. For safety reasons, Senior Zhuangjia will escort you. The Fu Fang Jin family will never attack the Cangli Ling family again before the second giant in combat power is produced. Therefore, Ling Yuanxiang dared to let Zhuangjia follow Ling Youdao and the others to Baiyunman. Ahem, second uncle, are you okay? Ling Dingzhuang asked, and the others also looked worried. Ling Yuanxiang waved his hand. I got sick from the previous battle, but it's just a little more serious recently. It's nothing serious. Hearing this, the others breathed a sigh of relief. Hurry up and prepare. Ling Youdao and the others prepared more than 100,000 low-grade spirit stones and found Kun in the side hall. Friend D. The two of us will go back to Baiyunman with you to discuss the alliance. Kun smiled, knowing it but not pointing it out. Well, let's set off now. Immediately, he sacrificed a flying spirit beast, which was surprisingly at the 2nd grade upper grade. Ling Dingshan smiled and said loudly, Senior Zhuangjia, it's time to set off. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge figure as big as a mountain flew up from a large lake and hovered in the sky, emitting a terrifying aura, which made the 2nd-level high-grade spirit beasts of Baiyunman tremble. Kun was shocked and said, is this the spirit beast of your Cangli Ling family? The great monster Zhuangshu giant turtle? Yes, I didn't expect it to be so big. Kun collected the spirit beast and followed Ling Youdao and the other two to sit on Zhuangjia's back and fly towards the direction of Baiyunman. In just 3 days, they arrived at Baiyunman. With Kun, Ling Youdao, Ling Dingzong, and Zhuangjia easily entered Baianmen. Of course, they also got the approval of the head of Baianmen, Master Mu Hai. Fourth uncle, I'll go see my second sister first, and I'll meet you later. Well, be careful and don't cause any trouble. Well, after that, Ling Youdao flew towards the island where Ling Yaoqian lived. When he was still far away from the island in the center of the lake, he saw a group of people gathered outside the yard. When he got closer, he found that it was a woman who was whipping another woman with a whip. The woman was struggling on the ground, and there was a 3 or 4-year-old child standing next to her, crying non-stop. "That's my second sister, evil woman, how dare you hurt my second sister, take your life." Ling Yaodao's eyes were immediately filled with bloodshot, and he instantly summoned the Yin-Yang Zhuanguang sword, splitting into 6 virtual swords. A total of 7 Yin-Yang Zhuanguang swords stabbed at the evil woman who was whipping. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.